Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
It doesn't.
Hey, here we are.
Hey.
Where in the world is Anthony? There he is.
Good
to see you again, Ant. How are you?
Hey,
All good?
You got to understand. You know how long it take to get me suited up? Like this is plush leather, ostrich.
You rode your motorcycle to work today, didn't you?
Yeah, man. Listen, shout out. This is like I'm one of Tony Soprano's black henchmen. When something need to go down in the hood, he the one. He called me.
Interestingly, and Jay asked me about this show the other day. There's a show on Paramount Plus called Tulsa King, starring Sylvester Stallone. It's a little cheesy, but it's still good.
It's funny.
I've always
and he does, and it's like it's a who's who. Like it's not a typical mafia family because it's taking place in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So there's like one black guy in the crew. There's like a cowboy in the crew. It's kind of interesting.
Very cool. Man. And I had to bring the turnover chain. Somebody said the turnover chain got stolen. No one snatched the turnover chain. The Panda is still alive and well.
Was that the turnover chain?
Oh, I thought you meant the Browns turnover chain that got lost because nobody ever gets any turnovers.
No, it got repoed. If you're not going to use it, we'll take it back.
Alex Van Pelt stole that on the way out.
He must have. Something happened because it's gone.
No turnovers.
Welcome to the program. Busy day today. Cavs driving the bus once again. Yeah. Cavaliers going for an historic win tonight. If they get it, it'll be 13 in a row. 13-0 to start the season. That's insane. We'll talk about the Sixers game. This is an interesting dilemma. Do you go for history or do you play the long game? If you're Kenny Atkinson, we'll talk about that. Like it's almost like, Bull, the dilemma that a manager has early in the season when a pitcher's got a no-no going or a perfect game in the 7th or 8th inning.
Yep.
Do you overexceed his set pitch limit to go for one night of history? So that's
so
kind
far.
of where
Kenny
we are.
Atkinson's done a good balance though, because guys are not overplaying minutes.
I agree. I mean, when you look at the minutes, I mean, they've got to be tired. Because they have played a lot of games in a short span. And it's early in the season, so they're still getting their legs under. We'll talk about that. Also, Leroy Hoard's going to join us. And Cade Smith, not a finalist in the Rookie of the Year vote, which surprised me. We'll talk about that. Was that fair? Was he robbed? And with that, we hand it over to Mikey McNuggets for our first hello of the day to you. What's up, Mike?
What's up, guys? Doing well. If you missed it, Jason and I did an Ultimate Cavs show last night. You can go find it on our YouTube page. We broke down some of Kenny Atkinson's first offensive sets using this new system we got, which was really cool. We did an homage to Ty Jerome. So if you want to see some more Cavs content, we're going to have 4 different Cavs topics today. But if you want even more Cavs content before tonight's chase of 13-0, they'd be the 6th team ever to start 13-0 if they can win tonight. You can find that on our YouTube page. We also have a Behind the Glass coming at you guys at 4:30 today, doing some more Cavs stuff. So if you're looking for Cavs content, you won't find any outlet in the city of Cleveland giving you more Cavs coverage in these upcoming days than the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
By the way, Mike.
Oh, shoot.
Because you mentioned Ty Jerome, and you didn't know this. So if Mike didn't know this, probably most of our fans don't know this. Good job by Chris Fedor. I had Chris Fedor on my podcast yesterday. You can check it out on YouTube. He told me that Ty Jerome and Donovan Mitchell have apparently been friends and played ball together since they were 8 years old. Did anybody else know that?
No.
I did not know
I had no clue.
No.
Both from New York City, give or take, New York City greater area.
Right.
So shout out to, it's a great little nugget from.
Yeah.
They go back to the Rucker Park days.
Chris told me he asked Donovan recently. He's like, because Donovan really wanted the Cavs to sign Ty Jerome.
Wow.
And Chris said to Donovan recently, he goes, is this what you expected? And he goes, what, are you crazy? not this.
It's one of them little known nuggets. Like me, Ken, and Dustin are from the same city. No one ever knew.
But none of you went to the same school?
No.
Federal League.
Yeah, Federal League game.
Federal League.
Wow. How about that?
Same place, same time.
That's right.
Ty Jerome has been, I mean, I as much as we've been surprised by the growth of Evan Mobley, to me, the biggest surprise this year is Ty Jerome.
Oh, yeah.
No one could have seen that coming. A lot of people have said eventually Evan Mobley's light's going to go off and we're going to see it. Nobody thought Ty Jerome's ceiling was where he's playing.
Dude, I was
now.
at the Warriors game and he couldn't miss.
It's unreal.
I couldn't believe
It's
how,
all season,
like,
not just the Warriors game, all season.
I got to tell you something. This is so fun. So my buddy invited me to the game. We had great seats, like 6 rows back behind the basket, his season tickets. And so we're like watching warm-ups, and I'm watching these guys like, you know, in their warm-ups on the bench, and I'm like, who's this like white guy? Looks like he doesn't even belong here because he's wearing like a baggy T-shirt, and he just looks like kind of like a nonner,
right?
Like a non-athlete.
Sure,
He looks like a regular dude.
Exactly.
He looks like just a regular dude.
And fellas,
like
like
pop guy.
after first off, he scored like 20-something points in that game. It was insane. Like, then after the game, I took my son to get autographs in the where the players come out.
Yeah.
And Ty Jerome comes walking out. Dude, this looks like he's like in college, like he's in a frat or something. Not that that's a bad thing, meaning he looks like a normal average guy, and he's tearing it up in the NBA. It's
You never know.
It's just unbelievable.
Them is always the dudes that get you and pick up basketball.
It's like Billy Ho,
who has
the hustler.
him?
Yeah, that's
Why you no twos? God dang it!
We
Ty
talked
Jerome
about
with
it
another
yesterday,
Billy Ho.
how he's playing, like per minute played, is playing as well as anybody in the league. You know, obviously he plays a lot less minutes.
Mikey, didn't you give us that one stat the one day about the MVP thing? It was kind of funny.
Well, he's no longer in the top 10 of Pro Basketball Reference's MVP race. In that same,
it was still funny though.
In that same chart, Darius Garland's now at number 5, by the way.
Okay.
But on a per 36-point basis, and I'll give you a little. Like I said, we did 10 minutes on Ty Jerome on the Cavs show yesterday. I'll give you the nuts and bolts. Per 36, one of my favorite stats in basketball. It essentially takes your per minute average, equates it over 36 minutes. You can get a fair comparison side by side, player to player, if they play the same amount of minutes. Ty Jerome's averaging 22.5, 7.5, 5, and 3.5 steals per game per 36 minutes. He's shooting a better field goal percentage than LeBron and Anthony Davis. He's shooting 11 points better from 3 than Steph Curry, and he's second in the league in steals per 36 minutes.
See, now we're about to get to the point where we're about to validate what Adam the Bull is saying. What's the white guy stat? Either
every white
Overrated
guy
or underrated,
except for quarterbacks and offensive linemen. Every white guy in sports is either highly overrated or highly underrated.
I believe he came into the season highly underrated. If we keep saying those stats, he will become highly overrated here in a second.
He will.
See, I mean, those are lofty numbers.
It's hard to do the
part of it
flip-flop.
is
Steph Curry.
His role isn't a starter. We don't need 36 minutes out of him.
No.
The beauty of what he's doing is you have an instant microwave offensive player that you can just throw out there at a stretch when you need a bucket or your starters need a blow. Get them out there, and all of a sudden, when did they haven't had that in the past. Not a guy of this caliber that could come off the bench and produce.
You had Ricky Rubio a few years ago before he got hurt.
For a minute.
But so far it's only been a minute on Ty Jerome. But
true.
But Ty Jerome,
I don't
it's
think
not
Ricky
just
Rubio
offense.
ever had moments like this Ty Jerome kid.
No, not like this. But
like
Ty
this.
Jerome, it's not just offense. It's defense
Sure.
too. He's
doing
playing
it at
great
both ends.
defense.
He's doing it at both ends.
Second in the league in steals per 36 minutes.
Yeah, that's
and it's
nuts.
double his previous career high. Not just like, he averaged 1.6 steals, he's averaging 3.3. His career high in steals per game per 36 prior to this year was 1.6. He's more than doubled it this season.
Is he David Fry?
I said it last night.
Right.
I swear to goodness. And
Did you?
It's on Twitter. He is.
Well,
the
that's
David
not good
Fry.
though, because that means he's only gonna have a good first half of the year.
Well, David Fry had some big playoff
Big
moments.
playoff
He
moments,
did.
Yeah. But essentially, he's a guy you had no expectations
Right.
for coming into this season.
He's David
He's
Fry
played
to me.
out of his mind. Is it sustainable? Was David Fry ever going to have a higher OPS than Shohei and Aaron Judge? We all knew it was going to come down eventually.
Sure.
Is Ty Jerome a better shooter than Steph Curry? No. But it doesn't mean they can't still be incredibly valuable down the playoff stretch for the Cavs. And even in the postseason
that's true.
with David Fry, who had the biggest home run in the world in the playoffs for the Guardians, if Ty Jerome hits a big shot in the playoffs for the Cavs, I don't think any of us would be surprised.
I don't think so.
No. In fact, I'd expect him to hit big shots. The guy.
way he's playing.
I mean, it's early, but he still seems like a guy that is going to be a part of this team going for the rest of the year. Like he could be an impactful player in the playoffs.
And Mike, I don't know, maybe it's anecdotal for me. It feels like a lot of his steals come when they absolutely need a steal.
I'm just gonna play this video, Steve. Just take 332 full. No analysis. Let's just watch this. I put together a compilation of Ty Jerome steals for last night. I put it on rundown today. I'm just letting you guys comment on it. He's doing things that you do to like 4-year-olds. If you're
This was the one I was thinking of, and there's another one.
This is 2 minutes long. We don't have to watch them all, but he's literally just pickpocketing NBA players like I would if I went to the local Boys and Girls Club. That's Anthony Black. He's a starting guard. Whoop, cookies given to me.
Cookies.
Look, he in his pockets, bro. Hey, by the way, they don't even let you really get that off no more. Anytime you reach across somebody's body,
That's Zach LaVine,
immediate
multiple-time
foul.
All-Star.
Yeah. He's got such quick hands.
And I also like how he calms down at the rim and finishes, and right there he dishes off to Donovan. Some guys are so out of control when they get a steal in fast breaks. I don't know. I like this kid.
Jeez.
Jason Lloyd got all that hate mail. He used it for one example. They just went a little crazy.
You know what's funny? Jason literally just texted me after you mentioned that Donovan Mitchell stat, Bull.
Yeah.
He said, well, Ty Jerome's definitely not the money cut anymore.
Yeah, no. He's not the money cut.
So, all right, guys, let's hop into the full show here. That was an unexpected but fun start to the show. Shout out to Ty Jerome, maybe the UCSS fan favorite. Shout out to Earl for being the first on the Ty Jerome bandwagon.
We need to get Ty Jerome on the show.
It's
the
in the
Cavs
works.
participate.
It's in the works.
Okay, good.
I've already talked to.
Now, here's the question: are you trying to get him on the big show, or are you trying to get him on the Ultimate Cavs show?
I'm trying to. So we're gonna pull the curtain back. They practice. From 11 to 1.
Right.
So I'm going to try going out to practice and sit down with them one-on-one.
Got it.
And then we'll record it and bring it on. Unfortunately, the live window does not fit with the Cavs practice schedule, so it's always going to be tough to get a Cavs player on live. But if we can sit down with them one-on-one, I think it'll still be worth our money. But if you guys want to bet on Ty Jerome this weekend, bet on the Cavs or the Browns, you better be doing it with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook right now. New customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So tonight, the Cavs have a chance to become the 6th team ever in the history of the NBA to start a season 13-0. They're currently one of 8 teams to start 12-0. If they win tonight, they join an elusive group of 6. They're playing the 76ers. Jarrett Allen's questionable with the lower leg strain. Jay, G, Dustin, Bull, how does Kenny Atkinson and this Cavs team walk the fine line between chasing history but not overexerting guys too early, which could potentially risk some future long-term success?
Call the Golden State Warriors. Ask them how 2015, 2016 worked out.
I think that's...
I don't.
They got to Game 7 of the finals. That makes no sense.
They did. We talked about it. We talked about it on Monday, and Jason said that he absolutely agreed that there's something to that. Yes. I brought up the fact that out around 20 games, and I can't remember exactly where it was, they had dominated SportsCenter, the landscape, NBA. They were a huge national story. Mm-hmm. Huge, much bigger than the Cavs are now. And now if the Cavs get to 20, they'll be at that point. Every day we're having our meetings at ESPN. We're talking about, how long can this streak go? We're doing the schedule, look ahead. And we had a couple of NBA analysts during the course of that time that would sit in our meetings that would be on segments of SportsCenter that first brought it up around the 18 to 20 game mark. And then it really caught traction because they were saying it on all the shows. But the comment was, this thing's not a sprint. It's a marathon. It doesn't matter. There's no trophies for setting records. The trophy comes at the end of the year.
But Jay,
and of course, that narrative then played out. Now, the reason I think has teeth, Bull, they were the greatest regular season team we'd ever seen. They broke all the records.
They lost a nail-biter in Game 7.
Did they win it?
I mean, come on. That's
History
just absurd.
will show you they lost it, Bull. History will show you they lost it.
History will also show you have no facts to prove one affected the other.
Of course you can't.
Silly.
Because it's like saying, how do you gauge someone's exhaustion level?
They lost a nail-biter in Game 7. If they had lost in the first round, that's one thing.
But, Bull, they lost it.
They lost
so
it.
When you look up,
they didn't lose because of that winning streak. That's absurd.
Did it have anything to do with it?
I think it had nothing to do with it.
Well, that's your opinion.
Okay.
I talked at length with guys who played in the NBA.
Okay, did they have a 24-game winning streak? How would they know?
No, but they made multiple deep playoff runs, and they all said this. Yeah. What you actually say, the regular season means squat. I wish Brad Sellers was here because I did have this conversation with Brad before about Michael Jordan and his evolution as an NBA player. When he came into the league, pedal to the metal, let's win every night. Well, Magic Johnson famously, after hitting a big shot to win his very first game, running around the court like it was an NCAA championship. And the Lakers famously pulled him across and said, hey, kid, we got 81 more of these.
Yeah.
Pump the brakes. Bull, can I prove it? No.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of conversations with guys that spent a lot of time in the league, and they know what this 82 grind takes out of the body. Now, nobody in the last 10 seconds of Golden State Cavs Game 7 thought, man, I'm tired.
Exactly.
But
come on.
It's the same thing of, like, I had this conversation upstairs with someone about Emmanuel Clase. You can say, well, he crumbled on the big stage. Or you could also say that his almost historic overuse caught up to him. We can never prove it. We can't. We'll never know what it was.
Emmanuel Clase didn't have a historic overuse. There's been many relievers over the years that have pitched way more than him.
But exactly.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying here is, at that level of greatness, there is very little room for error when you get on the biggest stage against the best competition. Now, with Jose Ramirez, he's another guy that it's important to Jose that he plays every day. Maybe this offseason, he'll reevaluate that. Where's the trophy for playing 160? I've never seen that trophy.
I just don't.
But here's what he's going to be remembered for. He colossally fell apart in the biggest time of the season. So what I'm saying is, can I prove it? No, I can't. But just call the Golden State Warriors. Talk to Steph Curry. Talk to now Klay Thompson.
You think they would say that because they had that winning streak?
In their moment of complete honesty, I think what they would say is, they're never going to say, we lost it because we went pedal to the metal. But now remember, this was twofold with them.
Didn't the Bulls go pedal to the metal when they won 72 games?
They had Michael Jordan, who was indefatigable, right?
I mean, come on.
Can I ask a question?
He's the greatest of all time. So you can say, "Oh, come on."
Yeah.
But I'll finish the point up by saying this: not only did they go pedal to the metal for the first 25, even though they lost at 25. Remember, they were openly talking about the importance of getting the regular season wins record.
And
every NBA player we had at the time said, that's stupid.
And then they dominated the entire playoffs until games 5 and 6 and 7.
When it matters most.
When they lost the nail biter. You really think that them playing that hard cost them to lose a tight game in Game 7?
I think it cost them.
No offense to you and anybody else. I think it's patently absurd.
Bull. I'm not saying
my opinion.
It's like when you try to figure out why something happened.
Yeah.
There's always multiple reasons. Obviously, losing Draymond Green was a huge factor for them. Obviously.
I think they lost because it was LeBron James. That's it.
If you're doing the autopsy and you're looking at all of the pertinent information, you can't ignore the fact that for the first 25 games, almost a third of the season, they went balls out. They were
a lot of teams have done that in history of basketball
and then they bookend that bull with their last 20 games peaking at the record book and playing every night to try to chase that record.
Every team in the 80s and 90s did that every year. Played hard to the end.
Yes. That's a fact,
I'm just saying. Come on.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that the Cavs would be better equipped to pay particular attention to load management, which they've done a great job of so far?
Which they have done, so what's the problem?
They've done a wonderful job so far. But what's more important at the end of the season? I'll ask this question and then I'll lay out. Load management or regular season records?
Well, let me ask you a question. Haven't we complained for 10 years that load management is bad for basketball?
Well, of course it's bad for basketball.
Let me ask you this.
So is pulling pitchers in the fifth inning.
Let me ask you this. How come there are more guys injured in the playoffs than ever before? But when guys play,
that's anecdotal. We don't have any evidence of that.
That's fair. It seems that way. Doesn't it seem that way?
And Bull, I would agree with that.
So yes, I get what you're saying. Yes, the regular season in the grand scheme of things doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. But when you have a winning streak, you don't. You try to break a record.
You know what?
I just don't see how you could tie what the fact they would. You said, well, with the Bulls that they had Michael. Well, the Cavs had LeBron. If they had played any other team in the finals, they would have wiped the floor with them.
I agree.
Wiped the floor,
but they didn't.
And then it wouldn't have mattered.
But they didn't.
I just don't see how it matters.
I know you don't. But again, answer this question.
Yeah.
And then we can let the middle guys go.
Yeah.
What's more important in the grand scheme of things? Regular season greatness or records, or load management? I think that's the fair question.
Regular season records don't ultimately mean that much in most cases, but a winning streak
in
period.
Most cases,
yes.
They mean nothing at all.
So then a no-hitter means nothing, I guess.
It does on an individual basis on one night, yes.
So but
at
Jay,
the end of the year,
thing here.
I'll guarantee you, if you go ask the Cavaliers at the beginning of the training camp this season, so let's talk about goals for the season.
Right.
Now, obviously, none of them embrace the fact that we want to win an NBA championship, but yet Monday, Mike astutely pointed out that Darius Garland said championship in his answer.
Yeah, of course.
Nobody said, well, you know, what we're gunning for is that 24-0.
Of course. Why can't you want both,
It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't matter.
It does matter. It doesn't mean as much as winning a championship.
What matters more, a ring or a 24-0 start to the season?
A ring, of course.
Okay.
But I'd say...
Bull, that's my point.
No, it's not your point. You're saying one affects the other. I'm saying it doesn't.
Bull, it does affect it.
Okay, you think it does. I don't think it does. That's it. We're not going to agree.
What we say doesn't matter. All I can go on is the conversations I had for really a couple of months during that regular season. A month at the beginning and a month at the end. With a lot of guys that lived that life. And they said, you know, it's easy for the guy sitting at home who turns on his TV every night to say, go for it. But you're not getting on the plane 45 times a year.
Okay.
You're not living your life in
I think we could find a ton of players that would say the opposite.
I'd love to hear it.
Again,
I would love to hear it.
If the Warriors had gotten eliminated early in the playoffs, I would totally buy what they're saying. The fact that they lost a heartbreaking Game 7 is absurd to make that argument. But I'll just leave it there.
Okay. Justin and
you
G,
guys haven't said anything.
How should
Pick
the
a side,
Cavs handle
guys.
this fine line?
Pick a side.
I mean, you guys are arguing over something that's so silly. It's like, I mean, you believe it affected him. You believe it doesn't.
Right.
There's no way to prove either side.
You were an athlete. I mean, I know it's different in football because you have a week to reboot, but
I don't know. I mean, I did have a question that I wanted to ask both of you guys because you kept saying balls to the wall, and in terms of like what they're going, like what does that mean? Like how do you say balls to the wall? Because how do you equate that to what they're like tonight? They're going for 13. Right. So. What does that mean? Does that mean that Donovan plays 2 more minutes tonight than he typically would? Like, what do you think that means?
In-game decisions in the micro moment that are probably different if you're 4-1 over your last 5.
Okay. Like, give me an example. I'm not.
Okay, I'll give you one. Against Chicago, I felt like there was a point where there was a sense of urgency that would not have been there if they were 7-4 to start the season.
The whole third quarter, he was playing the whole bench.
I know he did, which is beautiful. And to Mike's point of the numbers, he's got guys that he has the luxury of doing that with this year. But there was, Mike, when you were watching that game, did you get a sense that there was a ratcheting up? Because Donovan Mitchell even said so after the game. Did you get a sense that there was a ratcheting up in that game that might not have happened if they were 7-4?
So full disclosure, and you're going to hate this answer, but I had a basketball game Monday night. So
I just want to hear it.
Well, I watched the game Tuesday morning because I didn't see it live, so I knew they won. So I didn't.
Yeah, you do watch it differently.
I knew they won, so I never got to sense the pressure. But Donovan said afterwards.
Guys, the sense of urgency comes from them being 12-0.
Absolutely, it does.
But it's not just how Kenny would manage the game in terms of like inbounds plays, out of bounds plays, who's on the court, like all these things that are coaching decisions.
Right.
The players themselves are the ones that are going to push harder and harder because you're 12-0.
Exactly.
If I'm on a 12-0 team, I'm going to play my ass off.
Now, here's the thing to that. Yes, the players are going to do their part, but Kenny's going to decide the rotations and who's in the game. And Atkinson himself said, yeah, we're very well aware.
But he hasn't done anything different.
I don't understand. Like, there's nothing that he's done to me that I've seen. Garrett, you're going to be in here in about 20 seconds. Yeah. So I just don't know that. But he's coaching to win the game.
And you should.
Yeah. And you should. So then what's different? If he's not coaching to win the game, then we're taking the foot off the gas pedal?
Well, let me ask you this, because I brought this up earlier.
And then I want to hear from
It's the 8th inning.
Yeah.
It's the Cubs. It's in April. It's the first 8th of the season.
Yeah.
Your pitcher is a Cy Young candidate.
Yeah.
And he's at 122 pitches in the 7th inning and he's got a perfect game going. Probably not that many because he wouldn't have that many if he was perfect. But I know as a fan, don't rob my moment of history. Don't rob tonight. But we've seen more and more often that no-hitters are becoming combined no-hitters.
Yeah, which I don't.
Pitchers I don't like it, and I'll admit it. So it sounds like it's contradictory to what I'm saying now. But that's an individual accomplishment, which really means nothing. It means something to the player, of course. But it's a team sport, and you want to win in October, not April.
That's fine.
So you've got to take that into account.
I don't think it's a good comparison because he's not these guys are not playing that many minutes. You're comparing it to a guy who's throwing more pitches than he should.
Bull, it's not even about the minutes. I'll use the comparison of leverage pitches, okay?
Yeah.
If you're playing every minute of every game at an absolute balls-out level, there is ultimately a price to pay for that.
So what is he supposed to do?
Bull, I'm not saying you pull your starters and go lose one on purpose.
Right.
What I'm saying is, it shouldn't be your thesis statement. It shouldn't be, God, this is so important, we've got to get that. You ask 100,000 Cavs fans, would you rather start 25-0 or would you rather win an NBA championship?
Well, it's an obvious answer,
simple.
and it's also an obvious answer for the players.
Yes, but now here's
not
the
a fair
problem.
question.
They're not mutually exclusive.
Are y'all
The greatest team of all time.
Y'all done or y'all finished?
Yeah, tap in.
25 minutes in. Let's get to the real thing. You guys are doing this circular argument. You know how many times Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played over 74 games?
Every year.
18.
Well, they did that back then.
Oh, okay. You know how many times Karl Malone played over 80 games?
Every year.
17.
Well, look at the complete games in baseball.
Do you know how much John Stockton played over his career? He played it 16 times. Do you know? Karl Malone and John Stockton only missed 32 games total while they were playing. These are guys who led in all-time assists.
That's what
all-time
they did,
points.
though, G.
At the end of the day, the human body is getting better with medicine. The human body does great things. It's all about your expectation level. The expectation level is that when you put your pants on and you go play a sport, you put your clothes on to try to win football games, basketball games, whatever the case may be. You have a very small, finite time that you can live your dream and do what you need to do on that court. Under no circumstances, 13 games in. You know how many games they play in AAU? Every freaking day.
They're 14.
Guess what? At the end of the day, this is your job. This is what you do. Jordan was playing these games. Kareem was playing all these games.
Who's playing those games now?
Well, listen, maybe those teams don't deserve to win then.
Well, no, it's not teams or players. That's what the league looks like now. Just like in baseball, nobody throws
But we all complain about it, Jay. We complain about it.
I'm complaining about it too, by the way.
No, we're not.
But that's not the playing field.
We're not finished.
I don't know what Jay wants to have happen.
No. Hold on. We're not finished here. We're not finished here. The reality,
I want to win a championship.
The reality of the situation is the Cleveland Cavaliers are a young basketball team with a guy in Evan Mobley trying to prove himself. Darius Garland need to come back and figure out what he was doing last year. Isaac Okoro's still trying to figure out his role. Ty Jerome spent all last year not playing. And you got a new head coach. You trying to build habits. You building habits every single day so that when you get to the playoffs, you can have built habits so you can beat the teams like the Celtics. You can't fast forward and microwave that. And under no circumstances is this team the same as the LeBron teams where they say we're older, we got veterans. They ain't got veterans like that. They're still trying to figure out roles. They're trying to figure out what they're supposed to be doing. And they're supposed to be building habits. If you want to beat the Celtics, who, by the way, all their top players went and played in the Olympics too, right after the season. Jason Tatum.
Let's see how that works out for them.
And guess what? They come back and they ready to go. They lost 2 games so far, and those guys have played together for years and got that experience with the Team USA. At the end of the day, the Cavaliers is 13 games in. We ain't even 40 games in. They better be playing as hard as they can every night, and they ain't even playing that many minutes. They playing all under 30 minutes, and you ask them about the Bulls game, guess what? No, there was no urgency. When they weren't playing that well, you know what he did? He took all 5 of them out and put the backups in. And the backups led the charge. And the backups came back into the game. So that's the difference. No, we ain't worried about no rust or whatever the case may be.
I'll wear a T-shirt that I don't think they print T-shirts for 25-0.
And that, well, listen.
And I know they don't give out trophies
But Jay, you keep saying that as if one affects the other.
Those things matter. Why don't they matter?
Again, Bull, if it didn't matter, then why would teams subscribe to load management? If load management was a pile of garbage, why would all of the NBA teams keep such a close eye on it?
Okay, but how are the Cavs not doing load management?
I still don't understand.
Yeah, I just don't know what you want the Cavs to do.
Here's what I'm arguing about.
They're not.
Here's what I'm arguing about. Because this was the question. In the grand scheme of things, how hard should you go for 24-0? Right? That was the question.
You play the game.
And my answer to that is go talk to the Warriors about it. The Warriors did it twice in a season where it constituted more than half of their games. For 44 nights, 44 of their 82 games, they were chasing history. And when it mattered most, they lost the championship. How discouraging is it if you ask them, all of them, what's the most disappointing moment of your careers? They're all going to say that night in Oakland when they lost Game 7 because it made all of their records in 15, 16 moot. In fact, it's almost embarrassing. We were all-time great regular season.
I don't think it makes their point
we
moot.
didn't
And I don't
win
think it
the
makes it
championship.
embarrassing at all.
Go ask Steph Curry. I've heard him talk about it.
I can't imagine Steph Curry is going to say, well, if we hadn't gone for the record.
I've heard Steph Curry talk about it. I've heard Steph Curry talk about none of that stuff. In retrospect, none of that stuff mattered.
But he's never said if we didn't go for it, we would have won a Game 7 that we were in anyway.
Bull, of course he's not going to.
So they lost. They missed 2 more shots because they played hard early in the year.
But here's the thing. You're stripping LeBron James and Kyrie Irving of making tremendous plays. Yes, you are.
No, those happened.
They could have played.
Those happened.
They could have played every game. And guess what? Kyrie did what he did, and LeBron did what he did.
He did.
It wasn't
against a team that set a lot of records in the regular season.
It wasn't like that. If they would have just played 2 less games, that he wouldn't have got that shot blocked.
We'll never know. We'll never know. You know, if you're running a marathon, if you're running a marathon, at what point do you get tired? When do you get tired?
Before it starts.
The whole time. Right? The whole time. I never run.
Think about it in terms of a football game. In a football game, at what point do you get tired?
But here's the thing, Jay. We see
You're
you talk.
ignoring that question. That's a very good question.
We see you talk all the time, right? Listen, you had your whole doggone arm fall off. You had surgery. Then you came back. And you said, you know what they told you? Yeah, you may want to chill out a little bit. You said, no. I'm going to pitch. As long as I'm living and breathing, I'm pitching.
And I'll still say that.
Well, why do you think that these athletes in the prime of their career don't think the same way?
Gee, that's a crazy analogy because I'm 60 years old and I love playing baseball so much that I get enjoyment out of that. So if it hurts, I'm going to do it. Of course they do. But this is where load management comes into play. Mike, how big of a thing in the NBA is load management?
I mean, every team does it.
But we keep.
I just don't. Okay.
So the fact that every team does it must mean there's.
But how are the Cavs not doing it, Jay? How are they not doing it?
I agree with. They're not playing any starters over 32 minutes.
So far, I love what they're doing so far, and I even said that the other night. I think that he's done a great job with load management. All I'm saying is, don't try to go for history at the expense of exhausting your team when it matters the most. This is a marathon. I'm surprised you don't notice that because you have said time and time again, the regular season means nothing. I don't care about the regular season.
As a player, if you're in a winning streak, that matters. Obviously, it matters to their guys.
I'm not saying try to lose.
Right.
You're misunderstanding what I'm saying.
I'm not misunderstanding what you're saying.
There will be decisions that Kenny Atkinson needs to make in the course of this run where he might otherwise pull some players and pull back, but he's not doing that. At the start of the third quarter when it was a 15-0 run, and he rightly said, I thought that was Kenny Atkinson waving the flag. I really did. I thought he was saying, you know what, you got to lose sometime, we'll get it out of the way. Yeah. Then a funny thing happened. The backups came in, and the backup said, no, we're going to do our part, which I love, by the way. I love it because it's like in a football game, complementary football, when the offense picks up the defense. What we saw in that game was the backup said, we've got your back for this quarter. And that's why they won the game.
So in the end, the Cavs are not doing anything out of the ordinary or playing in any way differently. Even if they do, there's in my opinion, no proof that it would play a role in winning a championship. So I don't understand what you're upset about.
I'm not upset. I'm not upset at all.
What do you want them to do?
Nothing different.
Okay.
However,
so then we just wasted 30 minutes.
No, we didn't. Because the question was, how hard do you go for this? Right, Mike? At 24, how hard should Kenny Atkinson pursue the record?
So let's have
and
that
what I
conversation.
said was,
let's have that conversation at the All-Star break.
Go ask all the players. Would you rather go 25-0 or win a championship?
But again, you've asked that 4 times. It's not a fair question. It doesn't have to be one or the other.
Because the team that won 24-0 didn't win a championship.
That has nothing to do with
Okay,
it.
we got Leroy in the wings.
Kinda
We're gonna
does.
bring Leroy in, and he's
happened.
been laughing at this conversation for the last 10 minutes. So I'm curious what he thinks on this. We'll get to Leroy after a quick word from Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can watch the winnings roll in. Prize Picks puts its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure when your picks hit. You can get your money in as quick as 15 minutes. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use promo code LOCKEDONNFL and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNFL on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even have to win to receive the bonus. It is guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game when you want. Leroy, what do you say about what you just heard on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show?
I love you, Jay.
You know I love you too, Leroy.
You have lost your damn mind.
Hey, I think Jay trolling. He woke up trolling today.
let me explain.
I really didn't. It was when Bull got so upset that I'm like, okay, here's an opportunity.
We're going.
No, listen.
Yeah, I seen him.
It's like when you're standing next to somebody that you got no beef with, but they throw a punch. You're like, oh, let's go.
Let's go.
Bull thought it was so egregious that I had to dig in.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I had to dig
Go ahead, Leroy.
Here's the problem. One of the things that I hate about load management, athletes are creatures of habit. And you don't know when injuries are going to come, nor can you do anything to prevent them.
No.
And when you say you have load management, right, you're saying that we're trying to get a leg up on injuries. But what happens
that's not what I
is
look at it as, Leroy.
But wait a minminute. Hey, guys used to play all 82.
I remember it, and I loved it.
Okay, so it's to say that a guy's going to be tired. You know what gives you energy? I'm gonna tell you this, a little secret, Jay.
Winning.
Yes. So them guys going out there and winning, they got a whole bunch of energy. You know what the tired guys are? The guys that are 4-10. They exhausted. They need load management because they tired of losing. So, like, I remember from firsthand, my rookie year, we were 3-13, and we won the first game. After that season, I was exhausted. But then we went to the playoffs, won a playoff game. I had enough energy to go to the Pro Bowl and play in that extra game too. Like, I'm just saying, like, winning cures a lot of things. But to tell an athlete whether he's doing good or bad, because if he's doing bad, he want to get out of it. He want to keep playing to kind of turn it around. If he's playing well, he want to keep going. Sure. If a coach go to that player and say, we're going to sit you down, load management, I would be like, are you out of your mind?
Yeah, see, I think you guys are misunderstanding the question. The question wasn't, do you not want to win more? That wasn't the question. You, as my very good friend Herm Edwards famously said, you play to win the game. That
Correct.
is the stated intention every night.
Correct.
However, where I think the point that you guys are missing, that maybe I'm not making clearly enough, in the grand scheme of things, you have 82 nights, but no one's going to remember what happened in the regular season. They never do. They don't give trophies for it. They don't do anything for that. And,
just ask Golden State.
And from talking with many former NBA players during that 15-16 season, we talked to them every day, different voices, different guys. It did become a bit of a rallying cry where they said, this is great, this is historic, this is awesome. But it also could potentially have negative impacts down the road. And that's what I'm saying. So I'm prioritizing championship over the night to night.
Yeah.
So don't make it sound like I'm advocating losing. I'm not.
But here's the deal, though. They're playing 32 minutes a night. Most starters are playing. They're playing about the starters
Mikey,
are playing.
What are the starters playing?
About that, if not less.
Well, when I looked, I saw guys that were in the high 30s.
For the Cavs?
Yeah.
No,
For
the
the
leader,
season?
Donovan Mitchell at 30.7 minutes a game, so less than 31 across the board.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
if you can keep winning that way, keep winning that way.
That's what Bo just said 5 minutes ago. I didn't know that stat until Bo said it.
Thank you, Leroy.
They're playing 32 minutes a game.
Listen, that's marvelous.
That means they playing 3 or 4 minutes and then sitting down for damn near the rest of the quarter.
No, now wait a minute. That would be 12 minutes.
I exaggerate.
That's okay. I do that sometimes too. But Leroy,
lean back into it.
Leroy,
no, they're fine. They're fine. Listen, you know what the coach's job is?
Win.
The coach's job is the coach's team, and also to understand where they are as far physically.
That's true.
So he'll know when somebody needs a break. Not us. He'll know.
Yeah, well, I hope so.
And so I don't want for people watching the game to see a bad game and chalk it up to being tired. The coach will know when his team is not giving energy.
What is Mike, I saw the stat yesterday and I can't remember. What is the number of games they've played? It's 13 in how many days?
They were the first team to play 12 and 20. Tonight will be 13 and 22, which is still the most in the NBA.
And that's a lot. It really is.
So what about when they get those? What about when they get those 4-day breaks? That's coming because that's how the NBA works.
Do they get a 4-day break, Mike?
I'm just saying they're going to start getting a lot of 2-day breaks. They're going to start getting a lot of breaks that other teams aren't going to play. That's how they catch up in the
Cavs have played more games than anybody else to this point.
I know.
Right, so they're going to be a couple of stretches where teams are playing back-to-backs or playing every other day, where the Cavs are going to have a couple of days off.
In 2 weeks,
it always evens out, of course.
In 2 weeks, they have 2 days off between a game, then they play, then they have another 2 days off between a game, then they play, then they have another 2 days off between a game.
Good. So that
all at home.
That's great.
Leroy.
And none of those are road games. So they're home for a week.
The last of the 4 is a road, but the first 3 are all home.
But before that means they're essentially home for a week.
Leroy,
yes.
Right?
Hey, look. I don't believe in load management, man. The reason I don't believe in it.
You're the only one.
Hey, look, man.
Wait. Another thing. Why the hell would you ask Bush about a marathon?
Right.
Well, I thought at the time it made sense, but then Dustin gave the best answer of the day before he starts.
Hey, listen, Leroy, listen. Load management ain't got nothing to do with Achilles heels. And listen,
right.
I was at a practice, and I went and planted my leg, and my leg blew out. And another game, I got hit on my leg. That ain't got nothing to do with load management. One day, I was in the shower. I slipped in the shower, tore my Achilles heel. That ain't got nothing to do with load management. When you playing these games, the Reaper is coming at any given time.
You tore your Achilles in the shower?
Tore my Achilles
Yeah,
in the
but now,
shower.
wait a minute. While I would agree with that, there are
Something Bull would
episodal
do.
injuries. There are also, and Leroy, I know you know this, there are also injuries that occur because of overuse.
What, hamstrings?
A lot of injuries. Groins, hamstrings. In the case of pitchers,
I think G. Bush tore his
elbows and
Achilles
shoulders.
because he played too many games at Ohio University.
Too many games I tore them Achilles.
Please don't ever repeat that story because it's not masculine.
Hey,
No.
listen,
I tore my Achilles in the
here's what
shower.
Yes, it is.
Here's what I would say about that, is that we're trying to be too cute with sports right now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I agree
Right?
with that. I hate
They
it.
do it with pitching in baseball.
Yes.
They do it with football players during camp, and they do it with basketball players during the season.
Well, they do it with football players in games, too. Nick Chubb's been on a carry count forever.
What I would say, at some point, you got to be on one.
Oh, okay.
But here's what I would say, is that we've gotten too cute in sports. And the thing that you can't determine is when a guy is going to get injured. I would say this, and I don't know much about baseball, but it seems like Tommy John surgery is a rite of passage to be a pitcher.
Yep.
It's more common than ever.
I don't know why we bring pitchers into to major leagues and put them on a pitch count. Because I think the only way you're going to learn how to throw 100 pitches a game or 90 to 100 pitches a game is throwing 90 to 100 pitches.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
You've been
100%.
pitching your whole life, and now you get to the big leagues and now you got to pitch differently. I think that has more to do with it than anything.
Yeah, I agree. You're
so,
babying the arm, and that's not how
right.
you make it stronger.
You playing 2 or 3 years, then you become a stud. then they want to make you an ace, and then you got to have Tommy John surgery.
But Leroy, in defense, and I agree with you. I hate it. I think it's made sports a lot less interesting. But the argument that the teams are making, I remember Steven Strasburg when he came up, massive, massive contract, and it was. I would have paid him the same exact thing, and they put him on the most ridiculous pitch restrictions I've ever seen. It was insane. Right. And guess what happened anyhow?
Right. But that's my point.
Yeah, no, and I think the point you're making is also the point I'm making, and these investments are so big now. Bob Feller in his career did not make $1 million. Now I know dollars over time are all different, but they're protecting these investments and they're overprotecting them.
Here's what I would say. What Feller made in his day is compatible.
No, it's not.
But here's why. To what the team was making. You don't think it was? No,
you can look it up. I've done this. The top paid players in the game in the 40s and 50s. Right. Now I did this in like 2010, so it's been a long time.
They were buying and selling teams for $200,000.
Right, because there wasn't the money in sports that there is now. So it's
that's
not just
my point.
But no, that's my point. That's my point.
So Feller, whatever he was making during the year, is
no, it's not.
Has to do with the value of the franchise.
Yes, I know, but what you said was it'd be compatible with what the stars of today are making. It's not even close. It's not even close.
So I'm saying relative to what your organization and what your team value is what you make. You can't make more than the value of the team.
And what
you can't make more than you can't do it. So as those things go up, they're still going to be relative. Guess what? In football, there's a number. And that number is, I think, 49 or 51% goes to the players. Okay? So as the value of the team and the more money is raised, those contracts go up. But it's still all relative to the amount of money that the company makes as a whole.
Leroy,
if they didn't make $30 million back then, that's because the team was only worth $200,000, $300,000.
Leroy,
it's all relative.
Let me jump in here. Let's switch gears a little bit. I'm curious your take because Kevin Stefansky's obviously not had a good year. The team shouldn't be this bad, right? And they're 2-7. It's a mess. There are a lot of people that want Kevin Stefansky fired. And I guess there's some legitimate arguments coming off of what, last year to this. But look, for example, at Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco, who was a really good quarterback in Baltimore, had been a bum for about 5 years. He comes to the Browns, he plays well, and now he's a bum again in Indianapolis.
He just got benched.
He just got benched again for Anthony Richardson, who's a bum himself.
Want me to tell you why?
Yeah.
He went through camp.
That's it, right? So
he went through all that. He went through all that offseason stuff as an old man.
Yep.
And then when he got to the regular season, he was tuckered out. Whereas when the Browns signed him, he was playing with his kids the week before. He just say, "I'm gonna just go out here and sling it." Now he's there all year.
So you're saying he should have load managed?
You're saying he should have load managed there, Leroy.
It's not load.
all comes around.
It's not load management.
Yeah.
It's just your interest when you have to be there every day is a lot different than saying, "Hey, I'm gonna go play a little football with these Browns, see what's up."
So
that's the way he played last year.
Do you give Stefanski credit for getting good play out of him when nobody else has for the last 6 years?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of Kevin Stefanski for this reason.
Yeah.
Like, as much as people want to get rid of him, do you realize what he did the last couple of years? Like, with 3 and 4 and 5 different quarterbacks? Like, that's not easy to do. To change your offense that much to fit a player and still keep everybody else involved. That's not an easy thing to do. And he's doing it on the fly. The man has never had a consistent team.
Yeah.
He hasn't. So while you sitting here criticizing, or there's people out there criticizing the coach, ask yourself this. If I were to take Kevin Stefanski out of the equation and put somebody else in under the same circumstances, would this team be any better?
In most cases, no. Certainly with Andy Reid or a couple other guys, but in most cases, no.
The point is that you can be the best designer of offensive football there is. If you don't have the players, it's not going to work. And it ain't the coaching all the time. Now, there are certain situations where you can clearly see, hey, this team has talent. We should be better. But be careful when you say that. Be careful. Make sure that when you say something like that, you're just not upset because team 2-7.
Right.
Make sure that when you say we're going to make changes, that the changes would make this team better right now. Because next year, if you have a new coach, they're going to bring in a whole bunch of new players, and you're going to say, see?
Yep.
They're also going to have a quarterback they have to pay $85 million to.
Well, like that's the whole nother.
That's always the buzzkill. There's that.
There is only one reason. There is only one reason why you get rid of Kevin Stefansky.
Why?
And I'm gonna put it out there for you. If Kevin Stefansky was the catalyst and the guy behind, I want Deshaun Watson.
I'll agree with that.
That's it. Other than that, if somebody else or the owner is the one that decided we gonna give Kevin Stefanski Deshaun Watson, you can't fire that man.
I agree, but we'll probably never know how it went down.
No, you don't ever know.
But Jimmy knows.
Hell, when I was with the Browns, we fired Bill Belichick when we were 4-2, and they decided that they was gonna move the team in the middle of the damn season. And then we went in the tank, and they say, "Oh, we need a new coach."
Leroy, this team just had a bye week. They're sitting there. You're 2-17. Like, what do you focus on? Like, if you're Kevin Stefanski, what's your message to the team? Coming out of this, and what are you trying to accomplish here in the final, remaining games of the year?
I'm gonna give you one of the lasting statements that a coach has when the season is going bad. Right? We need to be professionals. We need to go out there and play well, even if you're not going to be here next year. Right? Have some pride in what you're doing. And don't go out there and let the situation and the circumstances make you look bad so that now you've ruined your chance at having another opportunity. And I think I've never watched a game this year and thought that the team wasn't playing hard. I never thought that, especially on the defensive side. I've never thought that. Offensively, I never thought that. I think guys want to win. I think guys are trying to win. I think guys are being very professional in how they go about doing what they do.
Even Jed Wills?
But I mean, there's some situations during the game you could point out, but I do believe that they're trying everything they can to win football games. It's just not working out for whatever reason. And it's hard to win football games when the position you have the most questions is at quarterback. It is very hard to win football games. And I just hope that the struggles at that position don't suck the life out of the rest of the team.
Well, Leroy, let me just say this. When you talk about it, you say, when you got the position that's not doing the most or doing the most important position in the quarterback position is not propping up and is not doing enough to win football games. Well, let me ask you this. Let me bring it to you from Jimmy Haslam's point of view. So Jimmy Haslam says, all right, well, look, when we had Baker Mayfield here, we were up for a contract negotiation, and you said that he wasn't good enough. You said that,
but like, however that conversation went, like we don't know, and this is where it gets tricky with these things, because everybody's gonna toe the company line, and you're never really gonna know who was the guy.
Yeah, was it Jimmy? Was it
someone
else?
So you had. So here's the thing. Okay, well, if say it was a collaborative effort, and it was Andrew Berry,
how about
and it was
Stefansky. What if I said Kevin Stefansky wanted to keep Baker Mayfield? Okay,
well that's so if he wanted to keep him, did Andrew Berry want to or nah?
That's why I said this is every week I come on, we have a conversation, and it ends up being this: the decisions that come after the season are gonna in part have to do with who's the people that decided to make some of the decisions in years past. If it's the owner, I think the owner gives them a chance to fix it. If it wasn't, I think the owner sits in the room with them and give them the stink eye. Give this guy $230 million, huh? Right? And he looking across the table. He looking across the table and say, "Well, $230 million, that's a lot of money."
Wouldn't that person have been fired by now if it was anyone other than Jimmy? Because that's a fireable offense. Like we no longer have to wonder if this was a good move.
But again, that's my point. That my point is that without knowing who was responsible, all right.
But they know. Jimmy knows.
Without knowing, then it's hard to then, because let's just be honest. If they fire Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefansky, everybody gonna think it was them, right? Right? That makes sense, right?
Yeah. I mean, with Jimmy though, don't follow conventional wisdom.
Leroy, before you go, I got a quick trivia question. Leroy Hoard trivia question. You ready?
Sure.
You made the Pro Bowl, as you referenced, in 1994. Do I have that correct? Mm-hmm. There were six. There were 5 members of your Cleveland Browns team that made it with you. Can you name the other 5 who made the Pro Bowl with you in 1994?
Metcalf.
Correct.
Pepper Johnson.
Correct.
Rob Burnett.
Correct.
Hold on.
2 more.
Was it Michael Dean Perry?
Correct. 1 more.
Hold on. Michael Dean Perry. And
this is a Prevagen commercial.
I can't think of the last one.
Defensive back.
Yeah, give him the position.
It was Eric Turner.
Eric Turner, there it is.
Wow.
Okay.
There you go. Pretty good, Leroy.
Leroy, is that a guitar behind you?
Huh?
Is that a guitar behind you?
Yeah.
Do you play it?
No, my son plays like 6 or 7 instruments or whatever.
Does he really? You told me that before. I forgot. I was going to ask you to play us out with a song, but if you can't play it, I guess that's not going to happen.
Hey, I'll play. I'll play guitar about as good as Deshaun Watson can play quarterback right now.
Yeah, we don't want that.
No.
We don't want that.
Thanks, Leroy.
Thanks, Leroy. We'll see you next week.
All right, guys.
All
righty.
Shots fired.
I didn't even bring up Michigan.
That's true.
Not worth it. We're going to hop back to talking Cavs after a quick word from the Ultimate Pro Football GM app. Guys, remember our great partner, Ultimate Pro Football GM? Well, they're back, and they've added an amazing new game mode that we need to tell you guys about. The game that has you step into the shoes of a football franchise general manager and lead it to glory now has a new head coach career mode. So on top of building your dynasty by drafting players, signing free agents, and hiring a coaching staff, you also get to call offensive plays during games as well. Additionally, you'll dig up new tools you can work with, such as individual training camps and upgraded negotiation systems. So this fun and realistic game just got even better. If you've already installed the app, be sure to do an update so you can try out the new features. If you don't have it yet, download it right now. It's a must-have for all football fans. I love it. I know you will too. Ultimate Pro Football GM is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. Play on the go as you want, when you want. And here's a special offer for UCSS fans. Use promo code LOCKEDONNFL in all caps inside the game store to receive your free boost to your franchise. Make sure you get it. This perk will jumpstart your play and give you an advantage you'll want in creating a dynasty. To download the game, just visit ultimate-gm.com. That is ultimate-gm.com. Or look it up in the App Store. Ultimate Pro Football GM. Start your dynasty today. G. Bush, we're going to start with you, then go to Dustin, then Bold and Jay. But we have talked a ton about the coaching change. Kenny Atkinson to JB Bickerstaff. And although 12 games is still a relatively small sample size, I do think it's a big enough sample size to answer this question. Let's talk specifics, not just in generalities. So far, what do you believe Kenny Atkinson does better than JB Bickerstaff did as the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers?
Well, I thought that under JB they played way too fast, way too slow.
They didn't play too fast.
I thought the pace of the game was way too slow. I looked at what you have in Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen. You have two big guys that can run the floor. I figure hey, why are you not getting those guys out in the break? You could get the secondary break started, block shots turn into outlet passes and getting up the floor. I think the second thing that he did is he started to deploy Evan Mobley as a guy that can start a fast break as well. So now what you do is when you have a big starting a fast break, you put their other bigs in a position where now they have to guard 90-some-odd feet. They got to guard from rim to rim. And now Jarrett Allen can get positioned under the basket and run the break as well. And now when you have Evan Mobley bringing the ball up, now you can have swing from one side of the court to the other court. Now you got Darius Garland who's able to spot up and take shots. You got guys like Dean Wade that's able to run to the three-point line. You got guys, obviously Donovan Mitchell had the ball in his hands a lot more last year, but now Donovan can get some easy buckets. I think the third thing they really did is the perimeter movement. It's just not about body movement. It's about movement away from the basketball. It's not about pick and rolls. As you can see right here, there's bodies moving everywhere. You got guys moving on the weak side. You got defenders need to be watching guys that are on the weak side as well as front side of these plays. It's just not a heavy dominated pick and roll action. It's body movement. It's ball movement. It's swinging and being in the right positions. I also think that he had a game plan for every one of these guys coming into this season. He wanted Donovan Mitchell not to have the ball in his hands so much. We made jokes, and not even really too many jokes, about George Niang. George Niang came into the season much more slim. Evan Mobley came into the season with a more ball handling, playmaking ability. And I think Darius Garland came back into the year where he feels more comfortable, obviously adding the weight. But I think more than anything, is he just gave them confidence to be listen, you guys were a good team last year. You guys were on the right track last year. You just didn't have the tools to unlock certain things. And so, Dustin, for me, I like the fact that Kenny Atkinson, you know, as a former player, when somebody tells you, hey, Dustin, hey, listen, now you can play zone or man. Mm-hmm. We comfortable with you out there regardless of what it is. You know what I'm saying? That gives you the little extra oomph to go out there and play with that confidence.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think he's definitely given the players a lot of confidence. I also like the way that his rotations have improved. And what I mean by that is, you hit on all those great points, about the ball movement and how the team looks and how they're playing with spacing. But a lot of that comes from who you're playing, right? When you can get a Sam Merrill to come in and give you all those minutes. I mean, he did for JB at times, but JB then would go away from it. Yeah. The Ty Jerome thing has just been incredible. He's playing players who, when they give you productivity, whether it be off the bench or as a starter, he's tapping you on the butt and bringing you along. I don't know, man. He looks like a basketball coach. He sounds like a basketball coach. The team looks like a basketball team. I don't know. Maybe they're a basketball team, right? If it looks like a basketball team and that whole deal, I don't know. It's what we thought the team would be for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And again, it's still early. No one's writing them as a champion or crowning them at this point in time. This is a fun ride, man. They're the talk of the town, talk of ESPN. Sports Center.
And that never. When has that ever happened without LeBron on the team?
You wish it would have happened more when you were working there.
Yeah.
Well, it did happen the whole time I worked there, but that's because LeBron was there for many
True,
years.
but this is without LeBron, which makes it even sweeter.
I agree with that.
I think this makes it even sweeter. Heck, someone had a tweet. God, who was it the other day about like Donovan Mitchell? Could he be the best Cav ever if they win a title? I'm like, man, that's an interesting conversation.
I think it was a declarative, not a question.
Maybe it was.
He said if he
was it someone on this show?
No.
I saw it on Twitter. And
that may be the dumbest comment of all time.
1+ championships in Cleveland, he's the greatest Cav ever.
By the way, I'm not trying to derail the conversation.
By the way, that's why I stay off Twitter.
Yeah, that is the dumbest comment ever.
But here's, I think to your point, what you're saying is he's a great leader. Like, he's a great, like the fact, I have a lot of respect for him, what he did for Jarrett Allen. Because Jarrett Allen, people was on him for not playing. Mm-hmm. And Donovan Mitchell stepped up and said, nah, man, this was one of my best guys. He played all year when other guys was out. What he did for Darius Garland. Like, he's always been pouring into Darius Garland, being like, yo, Darius Garland is a bad dude. Darius Garland had a bad year. Y'all need to stay off him. He took a lot of that.
About Mitchell now?
Donovan Mitchell said that about Darius Garland.
All right.
And basically he said, I believe in the unit that we got. You get me a coach that can get it together, and I'll change the way I'm playing so these other guys can eat.
Mm-hmm. And that's rare, by the way, for superstars in sports.
Getting back to Go ahead. What was that, Mike?
I said, what have you noticed in terms of difference?
So the question is not what does he do better than JB, it's what doesn't he do better than JB, because I can't think of anything he doesn't do better than JB. And the only argument against what I'm saying is there's just not enough of a sample size. You know, if he goes, the team's going to go through a slump at some point this season.
Maybe
how does he get out of that?
Maybe defense, but I think JB prioritized defense so much.
But I just don't even care. I mean, like, when you're scoring as many points as they are, the defense doesn't even.
And what good does it do you in the playoffs if you can't get buckets?
Right, but aren't they still pretty good defensive efficiency?
They are
still top 10.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be number one on defense. You just got to be good. You don't have to be the best. So I mean, every player on this team is playing with confidence, in some cases, like we've never seen in their entire careers. Certainly Mobley, certainly Garland. Obviously, Ty Jerome, and he had already had a relationship with some of the players. He obviously had a relationship with Jarrett Allen and Karis LeVert from Brooklyn. He had a relationship with Ty Jerome because Ty Jerome was in Golden State when he was there. But yeah, the superstar Donovan Mitchell bought in, and if the superstar buys in, everybody else does. And so the way he's creative offensively, Mike did a great breakdown as he referenced before. From the Cavs show. If you go back and watch it, if you haven't seen it, it's a little highbrow with some terminology that you might not get if you're a casual basketball fan. But it's great. It's a great breakdown to show how creative Kenny Atkinson is being. There was no creativity when it came to JB. The Cavs were a completely predictable team with what they were going to do offensively, and now they're not. Again, a long way to go. Teams are going to adjust. Guys are going to get hurt. He's got his first big decision coming up. 2 big decisions coming up soon. 1, does he play a banged-up Jarrett Allen in these next few games? 2, when Max Strus comes back, that's now 11 legitimate players.
How do you work them
who
in?
loses their minutes?
Yeah, that's right.
And Max Strus is going to start. I was talking to Fedor. He talked as if it's a foregone conclusion Strus is going to start when he's back.
I think
so.
he
How
will.
do you change it?
I mean, I've just assumed that he was going to.
Yeah,
Maybe he
so
won't.
there you go. I don't know.
Mike, is there any world where he doesn't?
I think just based off money, he will. I'm not sure if he should.
Oh,
well, Fedor's around the team all the time, though,
yeah,
Mike.
I would trust Fedor.
And he said it as if it's a foregone conclusion that he's going to start when he's back.
And you can weigh it once he comes in and he takes over in the starting lineup. Then okay, how do they compare with Strus in there compared to where they are now?
Well,
but somebody's going to lose minutes because they're playing 10 right now, right?
They're legitimately playing 10, sometimes even 11, and that Strus. I mean, they won't play 12.
Right, somebody's going to lose minutes.
Yeah.
And so I asked, and then Jay, I want to hear your answer on this. But after the Golden State game, Dean Wade, who had started the season initially, then got sick and missed those 2 games. Okoro came in. I asked Atkinson after the game, like, hey, what went into the decision to keep Isaac in the starting lineup? He says, well, he's not missing right now, so I'm not going to take a guy out of the lineup who's shooting, at that point, he was shooting about 52% from 3.
It's a good answer.
And I'm going to stick with the hot hand, which is why even though Strus, you would think, slides back in, I think Atkinson's willing to try anything. And if some guy's particularly hot, when Strus is healthy, and he's not going to be healthy for another about a month. So we have a We got a while before we have to figure out.
Is it a month? I thought it was like 2 weeks left.
He just started ramping back up into basketball.
They're not going to rush him.
Right.
They're not going to rush him when they're playing like
No,
this.
there's no need to.
In a couple of weeks, maybe in a month is.
Yeah, I thought a month was a little long.
Couple of weeks for that decision has to come.
2-3 weeks.
I think Kenny's going to kind of go with the hot hand right now because that is the rotating spot in the starting lineup where they have some flexibility. Jay, what do you think about the coaching difference?
It's a combination of everything that's been said. I'll pull out some words that I love because this is where I was going to start. Creativity. I love the after timeouts. Coming out of timeouts, we look like a basketball team again. Mm-hmm. There were times under JB, and I hate to beat a dead horse here, but there were times under JB where I actually felt we were at a disadvantage when the action stopped because he was going to go draw something up that I had zero confidence in. Mm-hmm. We saw it time and again. And where is that most important? In the playoffs, obviously. You call a timeout for various reasons. Either you're going to stop a run or it's late in the game and you want to strategize. It always felt like when JB did it, it blew up in our face. And I got to the point where I'm just like, you know what, let those guys freelance and create on their own because we seem to be better in the flow. But I don't know if there, Mike, is there a stat for out of timeouts?
Like
I would think
points,
there
points
would
per
be.
possession on out of timeout plays.
Yeah, I would think that would be a thing. If it's not, I feel like it should be.
It definitely is. I'm not sure if they'd have it after 12 games though.
Well, I mean, you can have any stat after any game. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, but I'm sure there is.
You have to weigh the sample size with the proper, context. If it's been 12 games, it's been 12 games. And maybe it's just in my mind.
No, there is. So when they were looking to hire either Borrego or Atkinson, I found it on Cleaning the Glass, which I don't have a subscription to.
Yeah.
I have a buddy who does, and he was able to get me those numbers, so I don't know where I'd find that right now.
Do you remember whether they were...
text your buddy for a password.
Where they were? It just seems to me like... Maybe it's because I'm comparing it to JB. So
listen, the Cavs were not good.
Oh, they were awful.
Out of timeouts last year.
They were awful.
This season,
I would like to see a number where it compares JB's out of timeouts for his time here, or even just go last year. And I know it's a small sample size, but to me, it seems like I'm fine when they call timeouts now to strategize because I feel like we're going to score. It feels like to me more often than not we do score, or at least we get a good look. Where there were times, if maybe my memory has warped this, but I think there was a time in the playoffs last year or the year before where out of a timeout we didn't get a shot. The shot clock expired.
It's definitely possible. I don't remember.
And that to me, I just can't see how that happens. I know the other team is strategizing too, but I think Kenny is creative. And here's the other buzzword that I want to throw out there because this was the buzzword that was used when he was hired. Player development. Remember, he's a developer. He comes in and he gets the most out of guys. Well, he has added the horn on the unicorn that we kept thinking was Evan Mobley. He's growing that horn now, guys. Mm-hmm. He is becoming that unicorn that we thought he could be. I've got to give that. Obviously, Mobley deserves credit too, but I've got to give a lot of that credit to Kenny Atkinson because he saw something. He said the right things. Whatever he did, sprinkled magic fairy dust over Evan Mobley. He now all of a sudden is like, okay, this is the guy we thought we were getting when we drafted him. And also and I know that you can parse this a million different ways, but I do feel like there was a lot going on with Darius Garland last year. He's got Darius Garland to return to an all-star player, where last year he was abysmal. Everybody agrees, awful season. So I think his development or his ability you said this, he seems to be drawing up stuff that's pulling out the strengths of everybody. And that's what a good coach does. You're the sum of your parts. How do they fit together? And Kenny Atkinson, so far, I know it's early, has done that. He's fit these pieces of the gears together, and they're moving at great speed, and I hope it can continue because I think we got a good one here. And we mentioned this Monday on the show. Kevin Stefansky is the reigning NFL head coach of the year. There is a chance that Stephen Vogt will be the American League Manager of the Year. And I don't know. I know it's, we're not even to the quarter poll yet, but I'd say Kenny Atkinson has a pretty good inside track on NBA Head Coach of the Year. I don't know if that's ever been done before, where all three pro sports teams can say that they've got the Coach of the Year on their staffs.
I think you just have to, when you go back and look at him with Golden State, right? Coaching is a funny thing because, we talk about Steph Curry all the time. Steph Curry could have been with 90 other different coaches, and he might have not been the Steph Curry we see because coaches do stupid stuff. They say, oh, well, that's a bad shot because it was a bad shot because your grandpa said it, or it was a bad shot because your YMCA coach says it. No, that's Steph Curry. That's not a bad shot. How many people would have had LeBron James playing in the post because he was 6'8"? Oh, no, you're bigger than everybody. No, take that little kid that's 6'3" and get him out of here and give LeBron the ball. Like, get down there and box up. No, that's not what we're doing. Sometimes you got to give people the latitude to grow that type of game. How was it that we were going to have Evan Mobley be a unicorn? He never touched the ball. He never had sets drawn for him. He never, right? Like, there's an easy way to get people to do certain things. You set an expectation level and you say, hey, Evan, come on in here. Hey, we need you to be this guy. So I need you to watch this film and I need you to work on these specific skill sets, right? You come in and you talk and you have an overall organizational plan. And Kobe Altman talked about it, and at the end of the year, and I know, Mike, you might have the quote bigger or memorized better than I'd have, but in the exit interviews, they talked about, when they asked about Evan Mobley, did you guys do enough this year to get him to take that next step? And he said, I got to reevaluate that. I don't think we did.
He essentially said we did not prioritize Mobley's development. We prioritized winning over Mobley's development.
And making sure that Donovan Mitchell was the centerpiece to the team.
And when you don't prioritize
the wrong things,
you prioritize. It's very easy. It's about priorities, man. And if you want to get to the bigger picture, and you want to get to a place where you guys can talk championships, you have to prioritize some things in the short term rather than the long term. Thinking about the bigger picture, and I think they did that this summer.
Mike, I want to hear your answer to this because you're the savant, the basketball savant. What is it? How would you sum it up?
Hey, savant. I'm not sure.
Listen,
they got him over here.
I think Mikey has proven himself to be the ultimate Cleveland sports show basketball savant.
Well, he did play the game, so.
And he understands the game at a very high level.
I appreciate that. I think you guys hit most of them on the head. First off, empowering players to be themselves and letting Evan become the Evan we are now seeing. And Darius had a terrible season last year for a myriad of different reasons. Instilling the confidence in him, and one of the things I talk about with Darius in particular is you have to shoot more threes. Like, the volume in three-point attempts has to be there, Darius. Even if it's not falling, he has said on numerous occasions, Darius needs to take 10 three-pointers a game. 10, which is a high number. He's like a career 6.5 three-point attempt shooter. Before this season, he's at 9.5 this season. He still wants him to shoot more because good things happen if he's a threat from the outside. So empowering guys to be the best versions of themselves. Right now, every substitution he's making is working. He's, like I said, he's a mad scientist. Eventually, he's going to put out a lineup that we're going to say, what the heck is this? And it's not going to work.
We haven't seen it yet.
It hasn't happened yet. He played 5 bench guys in a crucial part of the game against Chicago, and they sparked a 19-7 run. So he's hitting all of those. But most importantly, I think, and the one thing you guys missed, it's flexibility. How often last season did JB Bickerstaff, he had a starting 5, he played the exact same rotation, he'd make the exact same substitution patterns. It did not matter how the game was going, who was hot, who was cold. He went into the game with a game plan. And if Sam Merrill wasn't going to play in that game, it didn't matter if they were 0 for 731 from 3. Sam Merrill was not leaving the bench.
You're right.
And this season, and we saw it in Chicago, we saw it against Brooklyn, he's kind of going with the hot hand. And the flexibility and the not being so tied down to a certain rotation or a certain game plan, letting Ty Jerome be the catalyst late, letting Darius be the focal point of the offense down the stretch. That's partly on the players and Donovan Mitchell saying, all right, Darius, I trust you can do this, but it also takes some confidence and some conviction from the coach to say, this is our best bet. I think this is what we should do, and everyone else buy in. So I would say flexibility on top of everything else you guys mentioned has been pretty evident, but the pace, the offensive creativity, I suggest anyone go back and watch the breakdown last night just to get a small glimpse into some of the stuff they're doing.
How long is it?
8 minutes, give or take. We did a full Cavs show, but it was part of the thing. I'll drop it in the link in the chat for anyone who wants to see it. But he's hitting every right button right now, and it's hard to find any complaints when you're 12-0, and it'll come. They're going to lose a game at some point. I don't want to say I hope, but I just can't imagine they'll go 82-0. That'd be pretty ridiculous. But he's doing everything right.
He's kind of rocking the Pat Riley hair, too. So
I was going to say the same thing earlier.
You get bonus points for that, I think.
Yeah. I mean,
I give him bonus points.
Doesn't it make him look like like it gives him like coaching cred?
Cachet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just with the look.
It's a great look. You got the Abercrombie look today.
I do. Sweet.
Dude, you're the only guy who's 60 years old that could pull off being a model for Abercrombie.
Wow. That's high praise.
No, you look great.
Listen, that's high praise, man.
And I can't pull it. Is that a cardigan? What do you call those things?
It's a mock turtleneck.
Mock turtleneck?
I don't know.
Sweet.
Mock neck?
I don't know.
I like it, man.
I don't know what it
I
is.
feel like we need a fire in here.
It's fall time.
Get some s'mores out?
Dustin is good at that. Like, that was a promotion demotion comment. That was a backhand. That was a slight. He was like, hey, man, there's some logs in here. I mean,
It really wasn't.
What you got, one of these metal sticks?
I didn't take it that way.
I mean, I only jam up my friends.
No, I didn't take it that way. I took it as a compliment.
He does have multiple fireplaces
Bro,
where he lives, though.
if I look like this dude when I'm 60,
Dustin, he has chimneys, all kind of stuff. He has.
I heard about this crib.
Like, he got chimneys. It's like Santa Claus can literally, like, it's an escalator. Like, they come down.
Speaking of that, we do need to have another
Yes.
UCSS party. And I thought about
do a
doing
holiday
it.
party.
Well, I thought about doing it for the Michigan game, which that's going to suck this year.
I'll be out of town.
What about Indiana? Are you going to be here?
What's the date on that? Is that next
It's
week?
2 weeks. It's
I got a game next Saturday. I'm going to Arkansas.
Oh wow. Ooh, SEC game.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Well,
You
we
know how
got
they
we
do
got
it
to
We're not playing anybody good, though.
get
Don't
something
worry.
together.
Yeah. Oh, wait, let's do it.
All right.
Let's do it. Let's pivot back. We're going to go to one more Cavs topic later in the show. We're kind of weaving Cavs in and out today. We're going to talk a little Browns again. Get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Hey, before we go to, I love this next topic, by the way. I think it's great. Before we go to that, can I play a little game real quickly? Because I got my curiosity was piqued when I was talking to Leroy about salaries and how they would transfer today.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to guess what Bob Feller made in 1950?
$13.
Per game or per year?
No, per year.
What did he make? I don't know.
1950?
1950?
Yeah.
Per year?
He made
15 grand.
30,000.
15 grand.
He made $65,000.
Okay.
And here's what's I didn't know this until I looked it up. He went into management and said, "Cut my pay by $20,000."
That was in the 50s?
In 1950. That number, by the way, today, anybody want to guess what that would be today? $65,000 in 1950. What would that be today?
Oh.
Steve
20
says
million?
4 million.
No.
I have no idea.
Would you say?
I don't know. That's 15 million, 20 million.
$850,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was the
just throwing a
premier
crazy number out
pitcher.
there.
He was it.
And he was making minimum salary today.
And he made that would equate to $850,000 today.
Yeah.
And he went into his bosses and said, "Look, I was only 15-14 last year, and that wasn't good enough. I want you to cut my pay."
That's a bad job at a Bob Feller.
For 45. Well, this is the same guy who on December 8th, 1941, went down to his recruitment office in Iowa and said, "Sign me up. I'm going to fight."
Yeah, which
He was a different cat.
Yeah.
They don't make him like that anymore. I met him many times. He was cantankerous as hell. I mean, if any Cleveland fan, he would be at signing shows and stuff, and I played in some alumni games with him, and he had a grudge, man.
I sat with his wife once at a charity event for ALS, and she was super sweet. Very nice lady.
It's a nice little contrast because he didn't have a sweet bone in his body. But, man, was he all-time great. Okay, Mike, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, that's fast. It's hard to believe that.
It really is hard to believe that the premier pitcher in the game was making less than what would be less than $1 million today.
That's insane.
All right, so this next topic. There are 3 teams I'm going to give you guys. You tell me which team is in the worst shape looking ahead to the future. So which was the one you least want to be if you are trying to dig yourselves out of the basement? The Browns, the Cowboys, or the Jets? Which one of those 3, Bo, we'll start with you, is in the worst situation?
I didn't look. I should have looked for the salary cap situations with Dallas and the Jets. However, to me, on the surface, it's clearly the Browns are in the worst shape. With the Jets, as much as I was down on them this year, they're not stuck with Aaron Rodgers for years and years.
Right.
You know, they can move on from him after this year. Now, they don't have a quarterback, but at least they're not stuck with a terrible contract on their payroll. I look at the Jets, and individually, there's some real talent, especially on their offense. They have way more talent than the Browns do on offense.
And defense.
They've got some good defensive pieces.
Yeah, although
too.
they haven't played great defense, they've been okay. But this last game they got smoked. But yes, especially on the D line, they have some. Now they don't have a Myles Garrett, but they have some good players. And I think the Jets are in the best shape of the three of them. Mm-hmm. What I would say about between Dallas and the Browns is Dak was having a bad year before he got hurt, and maybe he's just getting old and he's not going to be that good anymore. But based on recent track record, I'm going to way more bet on Dak bouncing back. I mean, Dak led the league in touchdowns last year. Yeah. It's just 1 year ago.
It's the MVP candidate.
Yeah, so I'm going to bet on Dak bouncing back more than I'm going to, the Browns have no quarterback. They have no quarterback right now, and they're stuck paying a quarterback. At least Dallas. Yeah, listen, if Dak has just gone over the cliff, then they're in terrible shape. But if he's more like Dak is more likely to be better next year than anybody that's going to play quarterback for the Browns.
No question.
Going forward, as we all three wait to answer, is there anybody here that thinks it's not the Browns that is in the worst shape?
It might. I mean, honestly,
because I want to hear the case. I need to be cheered up a little bit.
I think the Jets could be in a worse spot than
really?
The Browns. Yeah, I mean,
I think the Cowboys are in the worst.
I think for me it was between the Browns and the Cowboys.
But it's not like an easy call to say who's in the worst spot. I think.
Yeah, but they've got an $85 million hit for the next 2 years from a guy that's not going to play for them.
Correct. So, I mean, like the Browns, I think the Browns have a coach, the best coach there. I mean, the Cowboys need a coach, Jets need a coach.
It's a good point.
Cowboys don't need a quarterback, most likely, right? Because I'm with you on Dak.
Yeah.
Jets need a quarterback and a coach, and the Browns need a quarterback. So, I don't know the situation cap-wise with the Jets or Cowboys as much as we know the Browns, but I think that the Jets, the Rodgers thing's been a disaster.
Yeah.
That's going to be one of the worst trades of all time, right?
No.
I mean, it's a bad trade.
It's absolutely a bad trade.
I don't know about worst of all time, but
maybe a little over the top there with that.
Yeah, but
the point
it's bad.
It's
really bad. Yeah.
At the end of this year, it's over. They're done.
That's true. But it's been bad for the 2 years.
We're wearing that boat anchor for 2 years after this season.
Is Rodgers going to be their quarterback next year?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So he's done. So they got to find a quarterback. They got to find a new head coach. It's New York. Doesn't matter who they hire. They're going to run him out of town in a year anyway. So I would rather be the Browns.
Wow. I am stunned right now.
I think it's a little. I mean, you didn't win me over, but it's a good argument. I mean, there is an argument to be made. It's a legit argument.
I continue to say that we're looking in the wrong places. Like we keep looking at coach, we keep looking at quarterback. Yeah, our quarterback is situation is bad, but what compounds the situation with the Browns is at least I can say if I plug the quarterback in, I know I got Garrett Wilson. I already know that I got CeeDee Lamb. You plug a quarterback in here, you still need to upgrade the receivers. You don't have a left tackle. You don't have your offensive line is getting old. Myles Garrett, you still don't have another guy on the opposite end of him. At least if I'm the Jets, I got Sauce Gardner, and I mean we got Denzel Ward, but Denzel Ward misses 5-6 games a year. We still can't identify whether or not. And then plus we got picks now, but how are these guys going to get these picks correct? Like. I'll give the Dallas – people talk about how crazy the Dallas Cowboys are, the Jets are. They draft way better than us, even if they miss that quarterback.
That's true. Lately, you're right.
We took Jed Wills in a draft with CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson. That's the craziest – like I'm still having heart palpitations about that today. And so for me, I look at it from a perspective. The Browns – and I said this on Ultimate Browns. The Browns is in a weird, dangerous little spot right here because there is no readily available, hey, just take this guy and move this guy and all of a sudden they're good. You don't have readily a high available pick. Even if you got a readily high available pick at quarterback, I'm not convinced that this group of people can mold and shape a quarterback and turn him into a star.
And that's a big factor, too.
And that's huge for me.
Now, I'm also, I don't have faith in the Jets, even though they have drafted better lately. I think that what's interesting to me about this question is the triumvirate of owners. You can almost hold these guys up as the poster children for bad ownership.
Yeah.
Jerry Jones, Woody Johnson, and Jimmy Haslam. And they all, in my view, have not entrusted the organization with minds that know better. They're the kingpins in all three organizations.
I think Woody Johnson meddles less than the other two, but he's still been bad.
Yeah, he's been bad. And my friends that are Jets fans, tell me that, well, as bad as it is in Cleveland, you can rest easy that you'll never have the worst owner. Now, I disagree with that. But for me, it has to be the Browns. And because what's the most important position in the sport? Quarterback. And yes, two of them definitely need one. I think Dallas is okay. I'm not sure what happened to Dak Prescott this year. I just think, sometimes success snowballs more success and failure snowballs more failure. I kind of think that's what happened there this year with him. But if you ask me, of the three, who has the best quarterback position, it is unquestionably the Cowboys. And what puts it over the edge for me for why the Browns are in the worst position is because while they still need to find a quarterback, they know it's going to have to be through the draft because you can't go out and find and pay a second top-tier quarterback. You're paying your quarterback the next 2 years almost more by 2 times than the top quarterbacks are making in the league. Mm-hmm. It's handcuffing. It's absolutely disqualifying.
Is there a chance they could go after someone that is, like a Darnold or a Geno Smith, somebody who is a high draft pick, who's still relatively young, younger than Jameis Winston? I'm not advocating for this person, but let's say somebody of the ilk like a Zach Wilson, right, who was a top pick, who really hasn't had a lot of.
Dustin,
I'm not saying we should go after Zach Wilson, by the way. I'm saying that's an example.
If you go after somebody that has a name value and that's going to come with a price tag.
Yeah, but I don't know what the price tag is for somebody who's been ran off.
But how do you trade for Trey Lance?
How do you pay
someone like that? I don't know.
Trey Lance hasn't played. We ain't seen him. He played like 5 games.
He's not going to require a ton of money.
He ain't going to require a lot.
Yeah, but the Niners gave up on him for a reason.
Okay, well, the Browns are between a rock and a hard place.
I'd almost rather go, with an unproven commodity
the Jets gave up
out
on
of college
Darnold,
because
the Panthers gave up on Darnold, the Panthers gave up on Baker Mayfield, the Rams, the Browns, I'm just saying, because a team gives up on somebody doesn't mean that guy stinks.
No, I know it doesn't, but
although Darnold hasn't played well the last couple of weeks.
Two teams have given up on him. Mm-hmm. And I think that you just try to go the Brock Purdy route. It's true. Try to go the Brock Purdy route. I know that was lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, but what's
and
the odds of that?
I'm not saying you're going to find him in the 7th round. Yeah. I'm not saying that. Mr. Irrelevant has turned into a Pro Bowl quarterback. That's even more bizarre than Tom Brady going 199. But to me, there is value. I was watching the Rams game the other night, and they were making a point to talk about how the Rams have really hit from the 3rd to the 5th round. And they got Williams in the 3rd. They got Nakua in the 5th. They've had some other hits in rounds 3, 4, and 5. We don't have those. How do we get out of this? We have to Rams our way out of this. We have to go find value guys later in the draft that end up being stars. It's the hardest thing in the league to do, but it's not impossible. See Brock Purdy, see Williams, and see Nakua. Those are 3 guys at 3 different positions.
But the difference, though, is the Rams have a quarterback, or had one. He's kind of out of gas at this point. And the Rams aren't that good. They're just kind of mediocre right now.
No, but for the 49ers, they didn't have a quarterback. And they found lightning in a bottle with – and look, it's easy to say.
You can't rely on that.
Well, how do you get out of your financial problems? You just go buy a winning lottery ticket. It's very difficult.
Yeah, sure.
I understand that. But I don't see – if you're looking for pass, because a lot of teams say, well, we're going to build through free agency. We're going to build through draft. The problem with the Browns moving forward is – you can no longer bank on the known commodity because that comes with too high of a price tag.
Yeah, they
when
can't.
You're paying a player $85 million each of the next 2 years, and you're going to get nothing out of them, you're in an $85 million hole to start the race.
That's true.
Why can't we get lucky like the Steelers?
Justin Fields is available.
He is. I think they'll bring them both back. I think that dynamic there is something that's going to be interesting.
But they're not going to win the Super Bowl.
No. Well,
right.
I don't know. Adam, I have no idea. Do you ever count on Mike Tomlin?
To win the Super Bowl? Yes.
Okay. Well, he's won one. He's been
it was a long time ago, though.
I don't care, Adam.
Yeah.
Every year, it's tough to win a Super Bowl.
I hear you. You're right, but he hasn't won a playoff game in a long time.
Well, he hasn't been a good quarterback in a long time.
He's an excellent coach.
I'm just tired of people jamming up Mike Tomlin. He's one of the greatest coaches of all time. He's going to the Hall of
Fame. This is what I will take. I love the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers, and if you guys don't like this, okay, whatever, but it's just this is football facts. We thought we were to a point where culture means that it don't matter who you put on the field. We got a culture that says we're going to be competitive. If it's if it's Duck Hodges, if it's Mason Rudolph.
Right.
They're always competitive.
Every single year, they make
whoever
the playoffs.
Puts on that black and gold,
whoever put it on, they come out there and they ready to go. So for me, if that's what I'm exchanging, that's what I want. I don't want no 2-7. We did good this year, and then next year we fall off.
When you love it for once that our team, when they put on that helmet right there, they got superpowers.
Right.
Other teams did.
You got two teams in this division that are like that because the Ravens are like that too.
You're right. Right. I mean, I never played baseball in my life, but if I put on those pinstripes, I feel like I was the best baseball player the world's ever seen.
You sure as hell don't have somebody talking about business decisions, and you sure as hell don't have.
Can you imagine a Steeler making that comment?
Bro,
he'd be out.
I asked Aditi this comment, and I asked Mary Kay about this comment. But I'm facts with this, man. Every single free agent they bring in here, all of them, they all leave on a bad term. All of them. They all, listen, you got Odell, you got Jarvis, you got old dude, Jadeveon Clowney, you got Zadarius Smith saying, get me up out of here. John Johnson was talking crazy. Juan Thornhill talking crazy right now.
That goes to my point of toxic soil. Like whatever seed you bring in here and plant, we're going to ruin it.
All right, well, listen. Let me just say this, because the biggest problem that I see right now with all this conversation about finding the quarterback is the GM is no good. We have a bad GM. Look at all the better players on this team.
All right, so clean house. Give John Dorsey whatever he wants and bring it back. How about that?
It's so funny that
I'd co-sign that.
It's so funny that you say that. And John Dorsey certainly was far from perfect here.
Yeah, but I mean, everyone's far from perfect.
Well, but
he was the closest thing to it.
He was. His biggest mistake was hiring Freddie Kitchens. That was
100%.
Which we all thought was okay at the time, but it would turn out to be a huge mistake.
Because here's the thing:
it was a career-ending blow for him.
Dorsey's a guy that
he rolls the dice.
He's a gut guy.
He's a gut guy, right? He's a football guy, and because in that moment, like he was going off his gut, it was the wrong call.
Well, look at what he's done now. The Chiefs, the Browns, and the Lions.
Well, I don't give him credit for the Lions.
He's in the organization,
dude.
Right,
in the building. I got to give him credit for it.
Yeah.
And what happened when he left
they've
here?
given him credit. They've been like, he's been a great addition to the staff.
He did. Listen, whatever we think of Baker, he wasn't the best quarterback in that draft.
No.
He should have taken Allen or Lamar. But overall, he did a better job by far than any other GM has done.
He got you Wyatt Teller. He got you Nick Chubb in the second round.
Denzel Ward.
He got Denzel Ward.
Yeah.
Hey, he even went out and made the trade for Odell Beckham Jr. And at the end of the day, like, hey, he made the trade for Jarvis Landry. Like, listen, I can't knock him for what he did. All I can say is right now, I have a big problem with anybody who made an evaluation for David Bell and thought he was going to be a player.
Anthony Schwartz.
How would you look at that? Anthony Schwartz ran reverses, bro. He couldn't even run regular routes. And that was the guy you
Now, again, I'm killing Andrew Berry. You could point a guy like that out for probably any GM.
No,
yeah, but they've got a track record in the third round of wide receivers.
He dropped him. He came back next year. If you get it one time, think about it. I did it with Anthony Bell, or Anthony Bell, but David Bell, excuse me. Then you come back with Schwartz.
No, Schwartz and then Bell.
Same difference.
But still, you're right.
Like the difference.
And you passed
screwed up in the
Amon-Ra
same
Brown.
round at the same position. Massively.
And we were requesting Tillman until the last few weeks.
And guess what? We got Jamari Thrash. You get rid of Amari Cooper, he can't touch the field.
I mean, he was a 6th round pick.
I don't care. You got rid of some people. It's evaluation
Well, but Tillman
time.
has gotten the opportunity. He's taken advantage of it.
Get Elijah Moore. Get all of these dudes that you're 2-7. It's the only way he's saving his job. And let's be clear, Siaki Ika. You got people that never even put a jersey on. Siaki Ika never even was active. The only way you're saving your job is
Perrion Winfrey.
Perrion Winfrey. The only way you're saving your job is if you get these dudes and they blow up and do something for you. Right now, you still living off the Elijah Moore? That experiment's over, man.
Yeah, I agree with Dustin. I would try to get John Dorsey back. It's funny that you said that. I don't think they will, but I think Dorsey and Kevin Stefansky, I'd like to see them together. I don't know that Dorsey would want to stick with Stefansky, but I think he should.
I think they'd work out. I think Stefansky is To me, I'm like a huge Stefansky fan now, and I was not a big advocate of him when they got him.
I remember.
For a variety of reasons. Nothing was personal. It just was I didn't think he was the best candidate for the job. Turns out he was. I think. I think he's been totally screwed by ownership and by the front office and by some of the decisions behind the scenes that have been made. I think anybody who works for that organization probably has a tough go of things because of who you work for. But I think he's made the most of it. I think he's got the calmest personality. I think his emotions don't get the best of him. And when he has, in the past, like Leroy said, 5 quarterbacks, whatever you win with, the guy knows how to do it. I think once things sort of calm down here and we figure out where this team's headed, I think Stefanski will be the guy. I don't think Andrew Berry should be the GM. But I like Kevin Stefanski. Maybe make some changes with your staff, right? And try to fix your offensive line coach or whatever. Try to fix the running back situation. Maybe he goes back to calling plays again. I don't know. But I think overall, as a leader, Stefanski's a really solid coach.
They should have never let Van Pelt go. That was a mistake.
Yeah, that was weird. Do you think John Dorsey would come back?
I don't know. I don't know what the terms were that he ended on with the house.
I know he still lives here. I saw him at the gas station.
When John Dorsey was the GM of this team, we had so much fun with him.
Did you ask him?
Nah. I try not to be a weirdo. Like
you know how now
in the gas station line getting his coffee.
Yeah.
You know how all our GMs in this town all talk the same. Now, our other GMs are doing a good job, but they all talk. They have the same nerdy way that they all talk,
and they don't say much.
Whereas John Dorsey, when I remember, he would sit down with us at training camp.
It was awesome.
He was busting my balls all the time.
He wasn't a robot,
It was so fun.
Yeah.
And the other thing about Dorsey that I really loved is that I felt like there was a little sense of like fear to him. Like when he walked around, he was a really confident guy. I think the players also felt that.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something that I don't think anybody is like walking around. I think the players have a sense of entitlement. No one's going to have entitlement around John Dorsey.
No.
I don't.
That guy walk around with
a guy.
He wore that the same sweatshirt every day.
Every day. I loved it.
I saw that the Jed Wills thing. I just when I went to sleep, I was sitting there thinking like, man, dang Andrew Berry, you looking crazy right now. If you got a GM that's really about it, if you know not to say that. Like, if you talk about business decisions and I took myself out, first of all, you're supposed to be scared to a point where you ain't even talking about that. Like, people that got cut for way less than that.
I hear you. I didn't have a problem with it, seeing it with context.
He's not good. If you're good, maybe those words fall out of your mouth.
He's hurt. He was just saying he's hurt. He couldn't play.
Say that.
I'm not going to kill a guy for
You know what they used to tell us? If you're on the injured list, you don't talk to the people. You on the injured list, you don't speak to the press.
Yeah, I mean there's something to be said for that.
While we have Jay and Bull on the set today, I figured it's worth talking baseball for 1 second. And the Guardians were in the news last night. Well, a segment. One segment. The Guardians were in the news last night. We'll talk about that in 1 sec after a quick reminder that Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike on other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. You can download the Prize Picks app today and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNFL on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even have to win to receive the bonus. It is guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game when you want. Jose Ramirez won his 5th Silver Slugger award last night, but they announced the 3 finalists for the AL Rookie of the Year award, and the 3 finalists did not include Cade Smith. The 3 finalists were Colton Cowser, the outfielder for the Baltimore Orioles, Luis Gil, the starting pitcher for the Yankees, and Austin Wells, who took over their starting catcher spot for the Yankees. Bull, was Cade Smith robbed of an AL Rookie of the Year finalist spot?
I believe he was. Relief pitchers, if they're not closers, often get overlooked for awards, and this is really the only award that a non-closer could possibly win. I think in the end I'd go with Cowser as the Rookie of the Year, but I would have had Cade Smith probably second. I mean, the argument would be, well, Luis Gil has pitched double the innings that Cade Smith pitched, and that's a fair argument.
And was really good for a stretch.
Yeah, but he wasn't dominant like Cade Smith. Now, it's easier to be dominant pitching 1 inning or 2 innings at a time than it is being a starting pitcher.
True.
So I I understand that argument. Wells, he came up late. I mean, he was fine, but I don't know.
He was in there because he's a Yankee, period. It's an East Coast bias thing for me.
Yes, I don't know. I'm not gonna. I don't believe there's really an East Coast bias when it comes to awards.
You're from the East Coast, of course you don't.
All right. I mean, but I hate the New York team, so it's not like I'm rooting for them. But in the end, I don't really care about awards that much, unless you're going to win. Whether you finished, in the end, whether he finished the not making the top three is based on the voting, right? So he didn't finish with the top three amount of votes. That's why he's not on the podium. So he might have finished fourth. I don't know where he finished. I think probably the problem is the older writers. They're not going to vote for a middle reliever. The middle relievers usually never get any. So the younger writers, like a Zach Meisel, who pay attention to analytics
and know how to contextually prioritize a setup guy.
Right, and
the old guys are totally
right. They don't.
They don't even
exactly. It's like, well, he's a setup guy, so who cares?
Right.
I'm not even going to consider it. So I don't know, but I think Kowser's probably going to win, and I think he's a good choice. There was no superstar rookie in the American League this year, unlike the National League.
There wasn't.
Paul Skeens might win the Cy Young and the Rookie of the Year in the National League.
That hasn't happened in a long time.
I mean, I think he won't win the Cy Young because he didn't pitch enough innings, but I don't know. But anyway, yes, to answer your question, I think Cade Smith should have been in the top three. I would have had him on my top three personally.
Why we not talk about the Japanese dude?
We talked about it yesterday.
No, Jay wasn't here when we was talking about it. We need this Japanese dude, Jay.
Sasaki.
What's his name?
Okay, I'll tell. Do you know about him?
Yeah, he's the guy that
we need him.
The Dodgers have said they're not going to go in on or something.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Well, here's the interesting thing. I brought this up yesterday for those who weren't with us. This is an opportunity that teams like the Guardians almost never have. Roki Sasaki is the best player, or at least the best pitcher, in the Japanese league. He is probably just as good, if not better, than Yoshibu Yamamoto, who signed with the Dodgers last year for $300 million.
Right.
And you may say, "Well, Bull, why, if he's going to get $300 million, why would we be talking about him with the Guardians?" Here's the difference: Yamamoto was a free agent in Japan, so he was a free agent and could
free
sign.
To go.
This guy is not a free agent. He's being posted. He's young. He's only 23 years old.
Which rare that you get an opportunity to bring a player that young.
Very rare. Otani came over younger, and I think Ichiro did.
Ichiro was, I think, 30.
Nah, not quite that old, but he was not this young.
Old.
Yeah. So the point is, instead of being in the free agent pool, Roki Sasaki is in the international bonus pool.
Right.
Okay, no team, once it starts over again in January, no team can spend more than $7.5 million per year on him. So, for once, the Guardians have an opportunity to compete for a player who normally would get paid superstar money, but they're not competing financially because they can spend, seven.
There's a cap on his price tag.
Exactly.
And that puts us in the game.
Now, there are other advantages that some of the bigger market teams have. We don't have much of a Japanese population in Cleveland, and sometimes players that come over from Japan would rather be in a community, live in a community where there's people, more people that are Japanese. I get that. The West Coast, Seattle, LA, there's a large Japanese population.
Sure.
Most of the Japanese players have ended up either in New York, LA, or the Cubs. That's been mostly it. But you never know. Everybody's an individual. I don't know what he is looking for.
I have a question for you because when you think about contracts and how they're structured, is it bending the rules or living on the edge of the rules if you just do with him what the Dodgers did with, I think it's probably one of the most creative contracts I've ever seen, even more so than Bonilla's contract. The guy's going to get $1 million a year on July 1st, I think through 2030.
Right.
Because he took deferred money.
I don't think they can do that with him.
Well, I wonder why not?
The only reason
Otani's made $2 million last year?
Right. I think because he's not a true free agent.
Yeah, so I'd like to know that for sure.
I don't know it for sure.
That would take the Guardians out of the running.
Yeah, the only reason I'm assuming that that's the case is I was listening to a conversation about him on MLB radio.
And they didn't bring that up.
I'm sure they would have brought that up if it was the case. I hadn't really thought about that, but yeah.
Well, I just thought about it because I'm sure he idolizes Otani. And I wouldn't want to come into a league where there's a salary cap for me and just me.
Well, it's not just him. It's all
international,
all the Latin players.
Right, I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
But you're coming in at I think you're coming in at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Whereas if you wait to become a free agent, it's a different issue. Right?
Right, but he wants to come to America right now.
Sure, I get that.
Yeah.
All things being equal, would you go after him? If it ain't no thing.
If there's a cap on it, then I absolutely go after it. But that's why I asked Bull the question, because I don't know the answer to that.
Well, I'll double check that, but I'm pretty confident that they can't do that. For those who don't know, Otani's essentially he's technically signed a contract, or not technically, but he was $70 million a year.
Yes,
but he's only getting paid $2 million a year for the next, I think, 10 years, and then after that, he's going to get all the rest.
Is that inflation? Does he get in the?
No, those dollars are fixed, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much money.
It's $68 million a year.
He did it mostly to help the team be able to spend more.
Yeah,
but he also did it, I'm sure, because he probably won't be living in L.A.
That's exactly
and
why
he won't be taxed as
his agent said, you're living in a high state tax area.
Yeah.
You're not going to have to pay that state tax in 10 years from now because you likely won't be living in California.
That's right.
So
I'm on my 68 deferred. I needed to be in the money market account too.
Yeah.
I need that on top of that.
One thing
real quick on Cade Smith, I want to hear
one thing. You used the word robbed. To me, that means that he absolutely, certainly should have been there and wasn't. I'm with Bull. I don't think it's egregious that he wasn't there. However, I asked someone yesterday this question, and it was funny, the answer. I said, okay, let's throw all 3 Rookie of the Year finalists in a pool with Cade Smith. Who do you most want? I asked 2 of them that. Smart baseball guys. They both said, oh, give me Cade. Because now, that's not the way you're voting on the performance from last year.
Sure.
But you're projecting out at a position that is very valuable, particularly as baseball has become a bullpen game.
Absolutely.
So I think, long term, he stands to be the biggest star of this group. Because he's going to be a closer, and he's going to be a closer sooner than later.
Yeah, that's true.
So for that, if you put all 4 of them into a pool, and I say you can take whichever player you want and have a draft, Cade Smith's the number 1 pick. In my view.
I think you can make a case for a couple of the other guys, but he would probably go first.
I just think the position he plays is such a premium now.
It is.
And after watching the playoffs this year, we talked about load management to start the show.
Yeah.
Load management has never been more of a thing in baseball than it is right now.
Although having a catcher that can hit is pretty sweet, too.
You don't like Austin Hedges?
Hey, listen. I
didn't ask you. What are your thoughts on
I got
them
no
signing?
problem with it.
Interesting.
It's going to piss me off when they don't spend much of the money. But in the end, the $4 million they're spending on him is not
pennies
deciding what they're going to do with the rest of the guys.
Well, it better not.
No.
Last year that was their one and only move.
Right, and it might do that again. But if they're not going to spend on anybody besides Hedges, well, even if they hadn't signed Hedges, they weren't going to.
Doesn't matter.
Right.
Doesn't
so
matter.
They would sign another $4 million player. How much is that going to help?
Exactly.
All right, guys, we got one last read to get in. We'll do a quick Cavs. Who should start for Jarrett Allen? Then we'll get to Super Chats. But the Ultimate Pro Football GM game is back, and they've added an amazing new game mode. The app that, as you step into the shoes of a football franchise general manager and lead it to glory, now has a head coach career mode. So on top of getting to build your dynasty by drafting players, signing free agents, and hiring a coaching staff, you also get to call offensive plays during games now as well. You also get some new tools that you can work with, such as individual training camps and upgraded negotiation system. This fun and realistic game just got a whole lot better. If you already have it installed, be sure to update it so you can try out these new features. If you don't have it downloaded yet, what are you waiting for? It's a must-have for all football fans. I love it. I know you'll love it too. Ultimate Pro Football GM is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline, so you can play as you go, when you want, where you want. And a special offer for UCSS fans: use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL in all caps inside the game store to receive a free boost to your franchise. Make sure you get it. It helps you jumpstart your franchise to give you an advantage you'll need in your dynasty. To download the game, just visit ultimate-gm.com. That is ultimate-gm.com, or look it up in the App Store. Ultimate Pro Football GM. Start your dynasty today. Jarrett Allen is listed as questionable for tonight's game with a lower leg strain. He did go through walkthrough and shoot around this morning, but that doesn't necessarily mean he will play against the Sixers tonight. Real quick, guys, because we have a bunch of Super Chats. If Jarrett Allen doesn't play, Bull, who would you start in his place?
I would. It's a good question. I should have been prepared for this answer.
I'll go.
But I'm not. Go ahead, G.
Hey, listen, you're going to start at 5, Evan Mobley. We're going to start at 4, the Vanilla Wolf himself, Dean Wade. At 3, Isaac Okoro. And we're going to go with Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell in the backcourt.
Yeah, I'm with G. Dean Wade's the right call.
I think so, too.
There you go. Dustin?
Yeah. What'd you call him? The
Vanilla Wolf.
Vanilla Wolf?
Yeah.
Because he looks like a werewolf?
Nah, he just got the long beard, slim. You know what I'm saying? Like
That's what I meant, the werewolf.
Yeah, but it's like a polar, like it's like an Alaskan vanilla wolf, like, you know what I'm saying?
Because he's
Remember
extra
the
white.
game?
Yeah.
Dustin, remember the
Yeah.
game he scored 20 in the fourth quarter against the Celtics last year?
Yeah.
G. Bush came in the next morning, was howling at the moon, and came up with the Vanilla Wolf
Vanilla
nickname.
Oh,
That's
I
the
kind of
origin.
like that.
Off the top.
Has he heard that?
I mean, who?
He hasn't, but he should go with it. The Vanilla
I'm
Wolf.
anxious to hear who you would say.
It's actually a great nickname.
What about LeVert?
Yeah, I don't think you could go wrong. The Sixers are not expected to have Embiid.
Do we know that definitively?
Well,
He did play last night.
The
in
line
their
would
loss.
indicate such.
Yeah.
The line indicates, and he has said, Embiid has
Spoken
said,
like
I'm
a
not
true.
playing back-to-back.
No, I know he did, but
But
I'm
he hasn't
just
been
wondering
ruled
now
out, no.
because it's the Cavs and it's home and
He
it's
has
a
not
winning
been ruled-
streak.
yeah, he has not been ruled out,
So I'm
so-
not going to believe he's not playing until tip.
Well, then if you think he's playing, then take the Sixers plus 7.
It's not a bad play.
It was
Yeah.
9.5 this morning on FanDuel. You saw 7 now?
Yeah, I mean, they'd be favored, right? If he's playing, or at least
I don't know
closer,
if they'd be
closer to
favored.
a
They
pick-
wouldn't be
closer to a
favored.
No,
pick 'em.
because Maxey's out too. They're too.
Yeah,
Maxey's
they-
out
they-
too.
they
Okay,
wouldn't be
so
favored,
yeah,
but-
but I mean, it'd be closer to pick 'em. I mean,
Maxey out
Embiid's
too?
probably worth about 5 or
Maxey's
6
out,
points,
yeah.
right? At least.
Oh, for sure. He's definitely worth 5 or 6 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, when do they have to announce whether or not he's playing? 5 o'clock?
7:30 tip, so
5:30? 5:30.
He may go through warm-ups,
Yeah.
and then determine whether he can or can't go.
Right.
But it's at least an hour beforehand. You have to make a determination
Right.
if someone's going to be active.
I didn't know
or not.
I didn't know what the duration was.
So yeah, all right, Dean Wade. It is. Dean Wade will start, according to UCSS. If Jarrett Allen can't go, we got a bunch of super chats, so let's get into those now. First one comes from Sly, who says, "Did you guys know that George Niang and Ty Jerome both have fathers that are black?" Question mark.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Didn't know that.
Didn't even think about that.
I know Niang did. I wasn't aware of Jerome.
Dang, I got to invite them to the cookout. Hey, man, come on through. Hey, Earl, put them on the newsletter. Make sure they get
Earl,
that.
your IFB's on my desk, by the way.
That's why
He
Ty's got
picked it
so
up
much
this morning.
swag.
He got it.
Ty's got some swag.
Oh, yeah, listen, his name is Ty Jerome. We should have felt.
That's right. I said the other day, I couldn't believe he was white.
Yeah, I
That
couldn't hear
name.
it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Salesh Sastry says, UCSS and the bullpen have become my go-tos. I lived in Cleveland for 6 years, been following all Cleveland teams since 2002. You guys warm my heart, and it transports me to Cleveland as a diehard fan from India. So shout out to
That's
Salesh
crazy.
for
Thank
watching
you.
from around
Hey,
the world.
shout
We're
out.
huge in India. We are the sports show of
Well,
choice
if we're
in
big
India.
in India,
It doesn't
then-
cover cricket.
If we're big in India, that means we're making some coin, bro.
Hey, listen,
we
no.
should start talking
a lot
about
of
cricket.
people.
We big in the
should.
Philippines. We're huge. Like
Are we?
When I
That's
go
your
back,
wife, right?
Yeah, when I go back.
Yeah, but India's got the second biggest population in the world.
In the world.
When I go back, people is like mobbing me off the plane.
Or are they
It's
first?
crazy, huh?
I think they're either.
Is India one or China's
no,
one?
No,
I
India.
think India's first.
India's
Yeah.
first.
And then China.
Yeah,
then China.
they're
Wait
1 and
till-
2.
And then a
wait.
huge drop to us third.
A huge drop.
By the way, wait till cricket comes here.
Indonesia.
It's coming.
I've been told that before, but I just
That's like baseball for like 3 days they play, right?
But it's a
one game.
different.
It's-
It's a very
100
different.
innings?
It's
Yeah.
a very different game.
I don't understand the rules.
I don't either, and I've tried to watch it. And I'm
And I-
like, man, he just
Yeah.
hit a foul ball, and so he's still running.
Yeah.
and they just run back.
But it's so big, man.
It is.
It's the world's biggest sport.
Didn't they just have a cricket event in the United States recently?
Oh, I
in the
didn't know
last
that.
like 6 months or something.
Possible.
I'm pretty sure that there was.
For
and
a while
the viewership of it was like 10 times what the Super Bowl's ever been.
One of our members is
Wait,
a cricket member.
TV viewership.
He's a cricket player
In America?
India.
No, worldwide.
yeah,
okay.
not in America.
Worldwide. Bigger,
India,
way bigger
yeah.
than the Super Bowl.
So their version of the World Cup or whatever was
yeah,
in the
I mean
US?
it's.
God, I didn't.
I don't want to speak out of turn.
I
here,
never
but
even
the point
heard
is,
about
it's
that.
basically like the biggest sport in the world.
And they wear like fancy clothes, right?
Yeah,
Like they wear like
yeah.
sweaters. I remember seeing them play. When I was a kid, there was a neighborhood called Canarsie in Brooklyn. You'd drive by, and there was this one field. You'd always see these guys with their white sweaters and their white hats, and they were playing. I didn't know what the hell was going on.
Pete from Bookline at the Fan, downstairs the store.
Right.
He was telling me about it because he's obviously Indian.
Yeah.
He's just raving about it, and I was like,
It's huge.
wow. So I started doing a little research on it.
Yeah,
it's big. And it's like this is.
If I'm not mistaken,
really big.
The most money gambled on sports is cricket every year.
Even more than soccer, huh?
Even more than
I
soccer.
bet on it a long time. I had no clue what the rules were.
Did you win?
Couple more super chats to get to.
I don't know why I bet on it. It was like not a large amount. It was just because it was.
Go ahead, Mike, real quick. He's got to get a few more super chats in.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
DB Dog 21 says, remember when asked at the end of the season before Deshaun Watson was acquired, Kevin Stefansky said, quote, "We can win with Baker," end quote.
I remember
If you get
that.
a chance to get Deshaun Watson, who wouldn't go for it? Nobody thought he'd be this bad. Chris Fox says Flacco has a better QBR with the Colts than he had here. Philip Chambers says
He just got benched. What do you mean he's got a better QB? Who cares about his QBR? QBR, who cares?
Philip Chambers says, how about just not talk about the Browns if everything is going to be negative? 4 hasn't played in weeks and y'all still talking about him.
It's up because everything that happens around them is negative. We're not making up the negative.
How
I'd
much
love
did we
to talk
about
about something positive.
Did we talk about him that much today?
It was a mention with Leroy Hoard.
Barely even talk about
It
it.
was 2-7.
Yeah, it is what it is.
And we have to talk about
This
how
is-
did they
listen,
go about get better.
That comes from the part of the fan base that no matter what you say, if it's negative about the Browns, we're wrong.
Right. We're
wrong.
haters.
And you're never going to
Please.
They'll wisen up, they'll grow up, they'll see that this is a trend, and then they'll understand. We're not making up the negative stuff. I would love to sit here. We had so much fun last year.
Of course we did.
It was a blast because it was positive.
Yeah. Is that it, Mike?
No, we got 4 more.
Oh, geez.
5 more.
Can we keep going?
Yeah, we'll just go past 1 to read the super chats.
Okay.
Mick McGee says, here we go again with Jarrett Allen being day-to-day, LOL. No. Joseph Silver says, please bring an NHL team to Cleveland. G. Bush's bad neck, not to be confused with G. Bush's bad knee, which is a separate account. This
Or
is G.
bad
Bush's
back.
neck, or his bad back. Says, let's face facts. As much as we want John back at general manager, he's really gone because he kept kicking Paul DePodesta out of meetings and he lost the power struggle.
Listen, I'm glad they brought that up because
Yeah.
he is right. As I remember, Dustin, now, we both were kind of in the building while that was going on.
Yeah.
And what I remember hearing was that John's undoing was he lost the power struggle with Paulie D.
Yeah.
Right, but hiring Freddie probably contributed to him losing the power struggle.
Listen, that's a career-ending injury.
Yeah.
However, you can now add up all of the bad moves under Paul DePodesta, and you can ask yourself, with John's track record in Kansas City and Detroit for those buildings, which one would you rather have right now?
Of course.
Are you buying stock in Paul DePodesta, or are you buying stock in John? Now, it doesn't surprise me that the Browns bet on the wrong pony.
Yeah, they should fire Barry and DePodesta and hire John
I
back.
don't understand why DePodesta has his gig.
Listen,
I mean, he's the
I don't
one
either.
variable that hasn't changed throughout everything, and yet the same thing continues and continues
Right.
and continues.
I
And
say
he's
that all the time.
And if he's overseeing it all, then why aren't we looking at him? I mean, meaning the Haslams. I don't get it.
Well,
what does he have?
He is the chief strategy officer.
Yeah.
That's
strategize these.
That's the unofficial boom D's.
Yeah,
I mean, it literally it boggles the mind. I've been on that train for 3 years. What are we doing here? There's, Barry's got him,
and no one talks about him like no one understands what the guy does behind the scenes. And
no, he's an enigma. He's
dude,
the Wizard of Oz.
That's what I was going to say.
Can I throw this out here really quickly? You guys,
Still got 2 more, by the way.
You guys know affluent people who have a little bit of money, right? And you go talk to those people.
Yeah, no Jay Crawford.
Yeah, right. Look, we know a lot of people. We know, everybody has a guy who got the bag, right? But then they know somebody who's got more money than them, and they always got a dude next to him. You're like, why are you hanging out with that guy? They bring him everywhere.
Is Paulie D his guy?
Yeah, his guy. They bring him everywhere. They bring him to the functions. Every time they start a new company, he's in on it. You're like, but bro, you know a lot of smart people. That's his guy.
I think he watched Moneyball and he said,
that's his man.
Get Jonah Hill on the phone. I need Jonah Hill to run my team. This guy is smart. And Moneyball, we've talked about it, was the biggest farce of any movie I've ever seen.
Great movie, though.
It was a great movie, but at the end when they say, they never talk about Miguel Tejada as an MVP shortstop.
Or the pitchers.
Or their starting staff, which had 3 Cy Young candidates on it. They never talk about that.
Right.
They always talk about Scott Hatteberg had a key RBI in game 133.
Yeah, I know.
And at the end, they say, even though the Oakland A's, who, by the way, are now the most failed franchise in all of baseball because they're leaving town, now, at the end of the movie, they say, even though the Oakland A's never won a World Series employing Moneyball, the Boston Red Sox, just a few short years later, finally snapped their a-million-year jinx and curse without winning a World Series using the same tactics.
Embiid officially ruled out tonight. Just
good.
Yeah.
Officially
Their payroll on that Red Sox team, that was a Moneyball.
Never let the truth get in the way of
Yeah,
the
well,
story.
well, Jimmy saw that. He must have left the theater.
Yeah.
But he said, I need Jonah Hill. I need that guy.
2 more super chats, then
now
we'll
we
head
got
to
it.
overtime. Sly says, didn't Japan have more views for the World Series than the U.S.?
I heard that. I never checked on that, though. But
I
heard that their, not their rating, because it's different, but that the number of households that watched in Japan was greater than that in the U.S. Maybe it's true, but consider this. What does Japan have? 50 million people?
A lot.
Yeah.
We have 330 million people.
Right.
It's stunning, but
I
meant to look into that because I had heard that.
But in
too.
Japan, baseball is the most popular sport.
It's football, basketball, and baseball all rolled into one.
Right.
And lastly, Derek Dillard says, James Brown song, Talking Loud, Saying Nothing.
Thank you, bro. I'm going to be here all week. Well, I won't be. I'll be here Friday.
And we'll see you in overtime.
I did get do we still want Tim Legler? I think he's going to come on.
I love him.
We're trying to work out Friday.